one on the Orient charts. Every number one for rated thread in the press. Ow! Every number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for rated thread in the press. Every number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for rated thread in the press. Ow! Every number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for rated thread in the press. And every thread in the press. Wow!
Hello, I'm Ben.
Hello, I'm Tom.
And you're listening to Sunglasses at Night podcast. The year is 2014.
It sure is. This is the podcast where we put on our time Ray-Bans and look back at a year in musical history via the ARIA charts and see what was hitting number one that year in Australia. That year being 2014, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into the hits, and this year there are a lot of... hits is a relative term. There's a lot of familiar artists, though, that are going to get more familiar over the coming weeks, for better or for worse. But pop culture, history, anything, what can you tell me about
just to set the scene, sure.
Yeah.
If you're casting your mind back. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared with 239 people on board while travelling from KL to Malaysia.
Was that 8 years ago? Was that 2014? Fuck.
Yeah.
There you go.
Except it didn't disappear, it just crashed into the southern Indian Ocean, which is fucking enormous and about 3 kilometres deep. So really the weirdest part is it doesn't happen more often. You'd think at this point people would be happy for a bit of mystery in their lives. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
It's 2014 at this point. Everyone's all, wow, Mad Men is so great. 1950 style is so cool. I wish I could smoke indoors and bang chicks on the desk at work. But then you put their parents on a flight that runs out of fuel and crashes without trace in authentic 1950 style. Yep. And suddenly it's all, wow, my parents are dead. I don't have anywhere to live, you know. I mean, fuck, there's no pleasing some
people seem less enthusiastic about the 50s when people die, I guess.
You give them a mid-century modern plane crash and it's all, my relatives are dead somewhere, you know. Anyway, 4 months later, Russian mercenaries shot down another Malaysian Airlines flight over Ukraine, killing 300 people. And 6 months after that, a Malaysian Air Asia flight crashed in a storm, killing another 162 people.
Yeah.
Malaysia, come by boat. That's my new slogan for the Malaysian tourist board.
It was a
nothing
tough,
wrong with
tough
Malaysia
years.
itself.
No.
I'm just saying, you know.
They were I think they were offering some deep discounts around that time, though, Tom. Yes. So you could probably get some international flights.
I think they hired a few of those Qantas consultants about how they could economise with their, you know, running their airlines. Yeah. Yes. What else? In cultural news, Robin Williams really leaned into the whole sad clown thing and committed suicide, aged 63, disappointing everyone who had been hoping for a Patch Adams sequel.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was actually a bit sad. I know everyone had kind of turned on him a bit at that point, but then as soon as he died, everybody remembered that he was actually pretty fucking funny. So, yeah, that's a plus.
Yeah, I was
horrible sort
I was
of
hoping for a Flubber 2. Did they ever make? They didn't make a Flubber 2, I don't think. But...
direct to DVD, possibly.
Oh,
possibly.
Okay, yeah.
In lighter news, an Italian couple were boning in the ocean at the beach and managed to create an internal vacuum seal that meant they couldn't uncouple and had to be taken to hospital stuck together.
Really?
I call that political correctness gone mad, Ben, but...
I think so.
Yeah, look. And in music news, Motley Crue publicly signed a cessation of tour agreement, which saw them retire after a final world tour ending in 2015. So, obviously, if I were to type Motley Crue tour into Google right now, that would be the last date listed for Motley Crue to... Oh, hang on, they're touring right now with Joan Jett, Def Leppard and Poison on the Won't Stop Till There's Jizz in My Mullet spectacular, which I'm planning to go and see shortly after the Guns N' Roses I Got Slash back into the band, I Promise tour, which is coming at the end of this year.
Absolutely. Look, it was a very clever marketing trick, wasn't it, to say, we've signed this thing, which means we can, if you want to see us play, you got to come now, because we can never play ever again because of this thing we've signed, and everyone rushed out to watch Motley Crue.
No one's ever thought of it before, and I'm sure it won't happen again. You
and
know?
then 2 years later, they went, oh, yeah, that's not legally binding, you fucking morons. Of course we're going to play again.
There's no such thing as a cessation of touring.
No, exactly. We're back, we're touring, we're playing, that's what's up. So, sorry to you guys that paid for us the first time. But the thing is that people that saw them on the the cessation of touring thing, they got to see Vince Neil about 8 years younger than he is now, because he is fucking abysmal at the moment. If you want to go onto YouTube and see any sort of Vince Neil concert from the last 5 years, dude could never sing, let's face it.
No, he wasn't particularly great.
He could at least perform to a level that I would deem to be passable. Whereas now it's like sort of watching, sort of an old creepy uncle at maybe like a karaoke booth trying to do a Motley Crue song and being like, I don't know, man, you probably shouldn't
Would
be
you
doing
say
that.
he was above or below the level of Bret Michaels in the third season of Rock of Love, serenading a pole dancer with Every Rose Has Its Thorn?
Definitely below.
Oh, wow.
It's
What
terrible.
about Meatloaf screaming out of the back of a hovercraft at a rugby league grand final? Above or below?
Probably equivalent, maybe below. I don't know.
Wow, that's not good.
That 2011 AFL Grand Final Meatloaf performance obviously has gone down in history as being quite abysmal. And if you watch it now, it is terrible. But Bret Michaels is still, I think, keeping a level of quality that Poison fans, the discerning Poison fan, demands.
True.
Whereas Vince Neil is sort of like like that sort of thing, and then he's got a few backing vocalists to do most of the heavy lifting. So they'll be the ones doing the Dr. Feelgood part, and then he'll do a lot of pointing the microphone into the crowd.
Yeah.
A lot of that. He looks really out of shape. He's all puffy and stuff. So it's
Are you
sort
sure
of.
you're not talking about Axl Rose again at this point?
Yeah,
You're definitely talking
about the
Vince
same.
Neil.
They're definitely about the same. But yeah, it certainly
I
is.
haven't seen Axl Rose on stage for many a year, but that's what he was doing the last time I saw him. So I'm guessing that 10 years on, things haven't improved dramatically.
Unfortunately, those tickets to Guns N' Roses are somewhat expensive, aren't they? At the MCG later in the year. Otherwise, we should be there. We should podcast live from Guns N' Roses. It does fall outside of the strict parameters of the ARIA charts, but that's okay. Look, I'll try and win us tickets, Tom, because I feel like being row triple Z, way at the back of the MCG, listening to November Rain 30 years after it came out. There's probably going to be nothing better than that.
Maybe we should try the Motley Crue tour with Joan Jett. I mean, it might be slightly cheaper prices, but who knows? I mean, I know Def Leppard have a pretty big draw still these days.
Yeah, for sure. So
you know who actually still does pack out arenas
Who's
of
that?
all these guys? AC/DC. They seem to have, as opposed to a lot of these bands, which would be, if you went to the crowd from Motley Crue, it's just going to be dudes our age or older.
Yep.
But you go to AC/DC and there's still there's like 20-year-old dudes with face, they've got, I don't know, they've just got an enduring quality.
They do. I think maybe the rumour goes around that they can still perform to a standard that one would expect from professional musicians.
True.
Not quite sure one can say the same for. I think also on this Motley Crue tour, first couple of shows, Tommy Lee would just come out and play like 3 songs and then go, brought my ribs, I gotta go, guys. So he'd only perform like 1/10 of the song. So I don't know. I think the whole thing sounds great, and I can't wait to attend. So,
me neither.
Big films?
I didn't look into that.
I believe the worldwide biggest grossing film, Tom.
Sure.
One of my favourites, Transformers: Age of Extinction. So,
good lord.
And that was number 2 was The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Both sequels.
And then Hunger Games at number 5. X-Men, Days of the Future Past, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So out of the top 10, Interstellar. That's an original concept.
Yes, sure.
So you can always trust Christopher Nolan to come in and break the monopoly on superhero films, and dog shit sequels are often the same thing. So there we go. Cool. Should we move on to the songs?
Yes, sure.
Cool, Tom. So 6th of Jan for 12 weeks. That's ages.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, I know we won't bother doing this with all of the songs, but yeah, that 12 weeks, that's so long it was actually punctuated by the next 2 songs.
Okay.
They popped up in the middle like little islands, then sank again while this just kept going for 3 fucking months.
3 solid months, basically. It's, of course, Happy. by Pharrell Williams. Pharrell's got a bit of action over the coming weeks. So,
Oh, yes, man.
the previous couple of weeks. He's hitting it big. What can you tell me about this one?
Well, I can tell you that he somehow survived the whole Robin Thicke debacle.
He did. He came out looking the best of that bunch, I think. So
maybe that's what Happy was about, really, was that he still got to have a career after that shit. Well, this was the first single from his second album, Girl, solo album. It soared to number 1 in 35 countries.
Jesus.
It was the best-selling song of 2014 across the board. In addition to chart success, this also got an Oscar nomination in 2014 in the Best Original Song category on the Despicable Me 2 soundtrack.
Good. One of the
which
best.
it was originally written for, believe
Yep.
it or not. You're a parent. I'm assuming you've watched it.
I've not seen Despicable Me 2.
You've managed to keep your children isolated from minions.
I have.
Anti-minion bubble.
I might watch them in reverse. Might start with the Minions and then work my way back through
old
to
school.
Sure. Definitely might unlock some secrets. I think, Tom, if you watch them in that order.
Yeah, Pharrell told W magazine after 9 different songs recorded fully, they were like, no. He's talking about the Despicable Me soundtrack.
Yep.
So he kept offering them songs and recording the whole thing. So I went back and wrote Happy. I didn't have the melody, just the chorus. For 20 minutes after I finished, I was jumping around the room. I told Chris to listen to the song in his car, that if he didn't like Happy, I don't know what to give him. According to a hard drive I found in a dumpster, the previous 9 attempts included a Chris Brown Rihanna duet called Slappy, Flappy, a song about an iPhone game that drove its creator to madness, Clappy, a harrowing account of an STI clinic visit after shaking hands with Robert Thicke, and Mappy, a song about an obscure 1983 Namco arcade game that frankly wasn't up to the high standards of Despicable Me 2.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
So
much like those jokes, in fact. Along the
we don't usually do jokes on this. So look, that's okay, Tom. It's good to throw them in occasionally to throw people off that might not be expected.
I'm just imagining what the standards of Despicable Me 2 were.
Well, Tom,
what the originals they turned down.
Well, I can tell you what, Tom. Pharrell also penned the song for the first Despicable Me song.
Oh, really?
Film, sorry, yeah.
Not a number 1.
No, lead single from the Despicable Me film penned by Pharrell was titled Despicable Me. And if you can't remember that one, it's because it's fucking terrible. So
Sure.
he released some kind of dog shit, but they gave him a second stab on Despicable Me 2.
Okay.
And he's come through with the goods with Happy. So there you go.
Well, the film was a success. Maybe they thought...
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Look, according to Pharrell, the song sort of happened as an experiment. We were just playing with sounds. He was talking about Middle Eastern influence. There are different scales and different notes in the Middle East. Western music bends the notes. We have 12 tones. They have like 30 or 40 tones. They bend notes in a way that we aren't able to.
Yep.
I tried to use 12 notes to capture what they're doing in 30. I also experimented with a lot of metal and punk music elements. Mm-hmm. When I was in junior high, all the skaters used to slam dance. I always noticed that the music they listened to had these note progressions that would go into the black keys. And it would just drive those dudes nuts. It's like a carnival with the bumper cars. They turn the machine on and the cars start moving, and then the music stops, the car stops. That was the reaction you got in the punk scene. So I thought, how can we put that into what I'm doing?
Yep.
You know more about how music works than I do, Ben. Like, honest question, can you detect either of those influences in this song?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is about as punk as it gets, I would suggest, Tom. I often ask people what their favourite punk or hardcore song, and pretty much 100% of the time, the response is "Happy" by Pharrell. So this is definitely up. I reckon Pantera fans would be into this.
If you took a flight over to the Middle East as well and asked your average Iranian what they thought of, traditional American, Middle Eastern influences, I'm sure this would be the first thing they'd point to.
Yeah, look, the interesting thing about this is that this is probably the least punk song that Pharrell has maybe ever done. And I'm not saying that Pharrell usually is involved in punk stuff, but he was in Nerd, obviously, the band that had guitars and stuff, and it was they did do some rocky guitar bits and stuff, and it's definitely not what I consider to be punk, but it had electric guitars in it.
Yeah, even those Daft Punk songs from last year had instruments and stuff, whereas this is,
So to say that he was influenced by the punk and metal scenes and Eastern music for this,
He seems to be basically just
I don't
saying
know.
it's got a catchy chorus which takes up most of the song that makes people want to dance. But I mean, that's fucking dance music, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
if, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think you're going to see this song on one of those skate videos from the 90s. You
No.
know, just dudes like in the half pipe, just grinding shit and being super gnarly. I don't think Happy would have sort of made it into that. So, but look, that's okay. It's good to see that, you know, Pharrell's, he's not closed his mind off to punk and metal
I
and Middle
guess
Eastern
not,
influences.
no.
He's always open to these sorts of things. And yeah, and that's great because we ended up with this fantastic song.
Man, did you watch the video?
Yeah, you bet I did.
Yeah. Look, you look at the guy in the video and answer me this: how old do you reckon Pharrell is?
In that video,
Hmm.
what year are we? 2014. So he's been around for. I reckon he started. You'd say like 30, early 30s, something like that.
He's 41
Oh,
in that
shit.
video.
Okay.
This bastard is 5 years older than me, meaning he turns 50 next year. All I can say is black don't crack, Ben.
Yeah.
Because in this video, he's wearing a bow tie, Vans, cargo shorts, and a sideways fedora.
Oh, yeah.
He looks about 21, I reckon.
Yeah.
He's got fucking acne when they show close-up. He looks like the first black nerd to read the game.
Yeah,
You know, but look, I take my hat off, my giant Canadian Mountie hat off.
Yeah,
to him.
he does look. He does look like he's in his 20s. The only reason I said 30 because he's been around a while at this stage.
Yeah, yeah.
But is he rocking the Malcolm McLaren Mountie hat in this, or he's not? He's not doing.
No,
that
but
yet?
it was around this time
Yeah,
that
that's
he was
good.
doing that.
Yeah.
The sideways fedora looks bloody ridiculous
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
frankly. But I just, whatever skincare regime he's using, I mean,
Yeah, for
for
sure.
goodness sake. It's like,
Look, I think if Pharrell went and re-enrolled in high school around this time, nobody would bat an eyelid. Or
Yes.
they could have, if they did like a Beverly Hills 90210 reboot, which I know they have done, but let's imagine they did another one around this time and they wanted to cast Pharrell as like a teen. I think
Yes.
I think you could get away with it, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I tried to do that, I think the police would be called. They'd just assume
Well,
something crazy was going on if I tried to re-enroll
around
in
this
high school.
time, he also started a fashion label called Billionaire Boys
Yeah,
Club, which
okay.
does slightly cast a slight sort of Peter Pan thing over him, and you got to watch out with that because that's the direction you go down that road. You end up in Michael Jackson territory.
Yeah,
you know?
it's terrible. You
Yeah.
do not want that. But
So if Pharrell shows up in a sort of never been kissed style high school scenario, I'd say look out, kids.
yeah,
You know,
indeed.
that suspiciously well dressed guy with a weird hat.
Yep.
Keep an eye out for him.
You definitely, but you're right. I mean, when Beyonce turns 50, she's going to look 25. I think you
Oh,
can
yeah.
say that.
So
and when
Sofia
I
Vergara
turn
is
50, I'm going to look 75.
Yeah,
so it's sort of,
exactly.
that's how it works.
It's like when you watch one of those movies from the 1960s and there's a receptionist and she's wearing makeup that appears to have been applied with a trowel. You're like, just because of the fashion and the wig and this makeup, you could be 25 or 49. You
Yeah.
know, there's no way to tell.
Absolutely right, yeah. So what do you, taking Pharrell's appearance aside and that backwards fedora, what do you make of the song itself?
Oh, look, I quite like this. It's very hard not to like unless you imagine Minions singing it, and then strangely it gets fucking annoying almost
it
instantly.
does, yeah.
I like the clap breakdowns for a start. It's
Yep.
maybe a minute too long, but that's fun if you're dancing along to it. What did you think?
Oh, look, you know, apart from the comment that it draws from punk and metal, which it does about as much as Scatman John does, I think he also draws from punk and metal quite heavily. The song, you know, it's an earworm by
Yes,
the definition
absolutely,
that
yeah.
when people said, you know, I can't remember exactly when that phrase was, you know, coined, but then, you know, they... Oh, what makes an earworm? What is it? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, this is one of those songs that I hadn't... When it came out, I'd heard it way too much. I think everyone did because it was
Yeah.
fucking everywhere. And then I hadn't heard it for a period of time. Listened to it again for this podcast, watched the video clip, and then probably for the rest of that day, I think it was just stuck in my head. So, and
it's
that's
very catchy.
Yeah.
The video's not interesting. The song, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interestingly, so the song repeats the word happy 56 times. But
does.
but interestingly, 62% of the song, apparently I didn't do this, Tom, someone else has done the hard yards for me. So about 2/3 of the song is dedicated to the chorus.
Yeah.
So apparently that's around 20% more chorus than most other songs this era.
Yes.
So yeah,
It's more like... Oh, sorry.
yeah. So I was just going to say that they've effectively just went, let's make the song all chorus. There's no
Yeah.
pre-chorus, there's no solo, there's no instrumental break, there's no outro. Predominantly chorus, 2/3 of it, and it sort of almost sets the scene for music today, where people are writing shorter songs to try and appeal to the algorithm of Spotify. So it's like, let's just keep songs under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's make sure the chorus is out front. We'll try and repeat it as many times as possible. Less bridge work, less other stuff.
Ironically, it's kind of how pop music started back in the 50s.
Exactly,
it was like
yeah.
that, like 2-minute long songs that
Yeah.
are mostly chorus, 2 4-line verses about how your boyfriend got run over by a train or whatever. And then,
And look, that has a lot to do with how people are paid on Spotify, I think. So it's sort of
Absolutely.
like, let's do a 4-minute song where the chorus is repeated, 4 times, and we've got a bridge and shit. And so if you make it 2 minutes and the chorus is only in there twice, but people think that's super catchy, they'll just go and listen to it again, and you get, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
rather than listening to a 4-minute song once, you might listen to it twice because you're like, oh, it's over too quickly, I want to hear that again.
Yeah.
And then you get, and if you listen to it twice, then Spotify are going to give you 1/1000th of a cent instead of one, whatever, half of a billionth is.
Yes.
So
Yeah, no, I think possibly too, my theory is that he was also a little bit influenced by working with Daft Punk, who are more dance music, which is, again, more chorus. Disco and stuff is more chorus heavy too. It's all about that cycling chorus and
absolutely. Now, Tom, you did say you think it's about a minute too long. You think you could have shortened this down a little bit?
Maybe.
Well, don't worry. I agree with you, but don't worry about that, Tom, because what they did was the music video, as you've seen, is
Very basic.
very, very basic. But it's sort of like Pharrell walking down the street, and then they cut to a few different bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Well, on the now defunct, unfortunately, but hopefully someone's catalogued this on the way back when machine or whatever. 24hoursofhappy.com, you could see the full version of the video, which, as the name suggests, ran for a full 24 hours, Tom. So you could go watch that.
Oh, really? That was a real thing?
Yes.
Not some fan tribute
No,
or something?
24hoursofhappy.com, they just looped the song for 24 hours
and
and showed all the various elements that had been filmed.
I think it's because it's like strangers walking down the street going along, so they must have filmed 24 hours worth of random New York street people walking around singing.
So you could watch the whole New York
wow.
street people, 24 hours of that. Just, if you're at a loose end, you had a whole day to fill in, just going to sit down and watch 24 hours of Happy. I assume they still play that at Guantanamo Bay, because as catchy as this song is, 24 hours later, I'd be fucking giving up any secrets that they may have wanted from me. Yes, I do know who killed JFK.
I personally prefer the 24-hour Nyan Cat remix. Which,
If 24 Hours of Happy doesn't sound desirable, what song do you think, Tom, would be the worst song to put on a 24-hour loop?
How about that looping version of Gimme Some Reggae?
Axl Rose is doing Give Me Some Reggae for 24 hours. Yeah, that'd be pretty bad, I think. Absolutely. I think one of the ones from a few weeks ago, if I had to listen to I'm a Punk Rocker with Flowers in My Hair on a loop for 24 hours, that's sort of very much, for me, as bad as it gets, I'd suggest.
By the way, if you think we're exaggerating and you're a bit younger, they did use music to torture people in Guantanamo Bay by just sleep deprivation, and you can look up online what the US Army used as a playlist for keeping people up. Some of it was legitimately terrible, like, I think... there's things like the hamster dance and shit like that, and
Jesus.
What else was there? There were a couple of things like stuff that you'd expect, like the Macarena, that are famously bad, and then there was some things that were just loud and annoying, like Rage Against the Machine type stuff, just things that would drive you crazy after a long period. But then some of them would just seem to be like normal songs. Just like maybe these ones were just like mental breaks for the people who had to also be listening to this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas even with the earmuffs,
and maybe also you don't really know that maybe the US government and Guantanamo Guantanamo Bay. We're just also testing some new material out on the market and seeing what,
Sure, maybe.
What do the inmates at Guantanamo Bay, what do they think of the new Britney single? What do they think of this? And sort of they can judge that,
Well, maybe they were trying to give the prisoners a break and just had extremely bad taste in music.
Yeah, exactly right.
They might have really liked the hamster dance.
So, look, lyrics. Is it great? That'd be great. It'd be for real. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Well, as I said, in the sort of dance music vein, it's mostly chorus, little bit of verses, and the verses don't mean much. It's 100% Pharrell, this whole song. You don't see that much anymore. Written, recorded, produced, all Pharrell.
Yep.
Here come Bad News, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got, don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offence to you, don't waste your time, because I'm happy. I admire his confidence, although it should be pointed out that this is a lot of bad news confidence for a man who hasn't gone through the Trump century yet.
Yeah.
But, yeah, back in 2014, it was still... it was a good time to be happy.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, and people agreed 3 months at the top. That's one of the longest lasting we've had since we started this podcast.
I can't think of... There might have been some others that were around to it, but I can't think of any that were longer than that. I mean, that's fucking forever.
It's bonkers.
So, as we mentioned last week, Pharrell has... probably last week, 30 million on Spotify. That's, goes without saying.
Yep.
People love Pharrell. He's got a lot of hits. This will cost you 75 cents on Discogs, although some dude is trying to sell the 12-inch vinyl on yellow vinyl for $350. So, which seems optimistic. But I don't know.
Mind you, hang on, 75 cents. That's like the cheapest one we've had for
a
years
while.
too.
Yeah, exactly. I reckon maybe off the back of Despicable 2, maybe they just made a heap of these or some shit. I don't know.
True. Maybe their parents would get into it.
Anything else to say about that one?
No, please. What have we got?
Cool, all right. So, 10th of Feb for 1 week. This is one of the ones that sort of broke in between the Happy's mega run. For 1 week, this is Say Something by A Great Big World and Christina Aguilera.
Yeah, she's back on the charts again.
Fantastic.
That was an honorary Axel Gimme Some Reggae that you didn't hear back there because I forgot to press the button. That's only because this song came out in 2011 and then again in 2013. Then it was performed on So You Think You Can Dance. Mm-hmm. Then Christina Aguilera heard it and liked it and asked Ian Axel and Chad King from A Great Big World to do a version with her. And then the song was performed on The Voice USA, and only then did it actually become a hit, entering the Billboard Hot 100 chart after The Great Big World and Aguilera performed the song on The Voice.
So this is about the sixth verdict, basically. Like, it sort of took a few iterations and sort of, Look, for me, it's like an off-brand The Dude from Fun.
Yes, I know. It does remind you of that a bit, doesn't it?
Featuring a classy Christina.
Instead of Pink.
As Christina, her appearance does alternate between someone you'd see offering blowjobs at 10 a.m. outside one of those 24-hour sports bars that I have no idea actually goes into. You'd hope that if you did go into those things, you probably need a tetanus shot afterwards.
Yeah.
But she alternates between that and a member of the Swedish royal family. She sort of has 1 minute she's like, fucking hell, she looks extraordinarily slutty. And then on the other hand, she can look very, very classy. So I prefer slutty Christina, but each to their own. That's, just my preference. So this has to be the worst type of hit, though, for my mind, Tom. And
you really don't like these ones, do you?
Well, I don't like a song that's not really good enough to stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
But then a big artist hears it, and then they want to be involved. They're basically trying to steal a hit. It's almost like the One Republic song, remember?
Yeah.
Where that sort of came out, and then Timbaland was like, "Oh, I'm gonna say it's Timbaland," and he does fuck all on that, but he gets a cosign, so that goes straight to number 1. And then this is sort of the same thing. The original song, pretty fucking boring, and then Christina pops in. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's Christina, I know her," and then just off the back of her name, it sort of gets projected.
Yeah, because it's still not a thriller minute, is it? Even with her in it, it reminded me a bit of "Let It Go" by Passenger from last week. E.g., a sort of slow breakup ballad. Although this is all vocals and piano instead of folk, and it's sung a lot better, definitely. Ian Axel has a pretty good voice, and obviously so does Christina.
Yeah.
That said, I'm guessing you still weren't a huge fan.
No, not for me. Not for me.
So, what is the Great Big World story, Ben, or the A Great Big World story, I
Look,
should
Tom,
say?
I couldn't be bothered typing fun into Google a few weeks ago to find out their story, and that's only 3 letters, so I sure as fuck wasn't going to Google A Great Big World. But look, I imagine, Tom, that the Great Big World story is very, very boring. As boring as their music. So I've invented my own backstory.
Sure.
This is the Great Big World backstory, Tom, which hopefully will be more amusing than their actual one. So they were at university together, Tom, on a badminton scholarship. And after a victory, the 2 members of A Great Big World were banging a chick in the back of a panel van.
Sure.
And their drunk friend drove it off a bridge, and they were both terribly injured, putting an end to their badminton career. They were there on a sports scholarship, so that's the only reason they're at college. And they were advised, look, you can't do badminton anymore, so you're going to have to leave the university because you can't compete. But fortunately, there'd been a school shooting at the college a day before, which happens in America quite frequently, and 12 people in the music faculty were murdered. So the Dean of Music said to A Great Big World, look, if you can write a song, you're in. You can pen a song. The scholarship, though, at the school, they hadn't written a song before, but they thought, look, we'll give it a go. If we can get a song in there, we'll bust out the piano. If we can do that, we'll get that scholarship and it'll be okay, and we'll get in there. So that's their story. However, the scholarships are only available for black people and women. So one of them had to dress up as a girl, like Corey Feldman in the seminal Just One of the Girls film.
Yes.
And the other one had to dress up like C. Thomas Howell in The Soul Man. And the dean said, you're going to have to come up with the worst band name in human history. And if you can think of one that's extraordinarily terrible, you're in. So they penned that shit piano ballad, one dressed up as a woman, one dressed up like C. Thomas Howell and the Soul Man, and they got the scholarship, and the rest, they say, is history.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that somewhat better than the real story, Tom?
I'd say it's more interesting than the real story because your story doesn't involve multiple appearances on dogshit reality TV shows.
Yeah.
But it's probably, I mean...
I think the real story is they just met at university, didn't they?
Yeah, something
or
like
something
that.
like that. Something boring.
Your version's got more blackface in it.
Yeah, it does.
But, who's to say that A Great Big World don't like blackface? I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing about it in this song,
No.
Really, as we know from the legal system, the onus is on them to prove that they're not guilty rather than me to prove that they do like blackface.
Yeah, exactly.
So who's to say that that's not what happened?
Yeah.
Look, the one good thing I'll say about this personally is that I like that it's an actual song.
Yeah.
In that it's real artists and real instruments and shit, real singers. But it is dull, like you say. It sounds an awful lot like it was written to be used over a pre-credit montage at the end of one of those Netflix dramas nobody watches about the relationship struggles of white suburban millionaires.
Yeah.
Personally, I prefer their song "Everyone Is Gay," which sounds like Weezer trying to explain homosexuality at a daycare centre, just like Alex Jones predicted.
Fantastic.
They really do have a song called "Everyone Is Gay." Just in case you wonder.
That's good. Look, I do enjoy some of their other work. One of their other songs was used as a theme song for probably my favourite MTV series, Tom. I Used to Be Fat, which is a show just about skinny people that used to be fat. But A Great Big World got in on that action for the theme song. Good on them. Well done. The video.
I didn't actually see it, or I watched it, but all I could see was a guy playing piano when I
that's basically the video.
Scanned through.
So one of the guys, I'm saying back in my origin story, is the blackface guy of the two.
Yeah, sure.
So he's playing the piano, and then the other one, who's the chick who had to dress up like Corey Feldman and Just One of the Girls, he's at the other end of the piano, and then Christina shows up.
Yeah.
So there's one of the guys playing the piano, the other one at the other end of the piano, Christina. That's basically the whole video, interspliced with some footage of there's a girl and a guy laying on a bed, both realizing that look, their relationship is probably a little bit fucked, and they're not going to make it through. So that's sort of, I guess, that's the two bits. The piano bit, which sucks, and then that other bit.
Again, this is a lot like that fucking Farm and Pink song from last year, which was pretty much the same concept.
Oh, exactly, except in this one, it's just a regular bed. It's not a mattress floating in water, although there are a lot of water shots in this for some reason as well. So that's the video. Probably as bland as the song, if not blander, so I don't know.
Well, speaking of bland, lyrically, say something, I'm giving up on you, and I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you, and anywhere, I would have followed you. Sounds like she finally moved into a gated complex with good security to me, which makes sense when you see the attractiveness disparity between the two singers in this video, running at about an 8 on the incel decimal scale.
Oh, absolutely.
Is every uggo a potential stalker? Experts say no, but you should always make the sign of the cross if one of us walks in front of you.
Yeah, look...
Just you know, it doesn't pays to be careful. I'm saying
completely agree, Tom. And look, here's a twist. I'd say that the dude from A Great Big World looks like a school shooter, so maybe he was responsible for the music faculty shooting that led to him being admitted with his friend in the first place.
It's all adding up.
It all does add up, correct? So yeah, these guys. I don't know. I missed how many Spotify dudes they've got. Sorry, for whatever reason. But
well, we've covered Christina before. She's had number ones before, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
We've done Christina before.
Exactly. Look, let me do this in real time.
I'm going to guess.
What's A Great Big World?
Listeners on Spotify, I'm going to guess 2 million.
4.8 mil.
Oh wow, so, they must have had some other hit then.
Yeah, I assume
or
so.
every boring twat that watches The View bought one as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, not The View, the Voice, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry to the ladies on The View, you don't deserve to be compared to The Voice.
No. So that's probably more than I thought. Look, we have talked about Christina in other episodes, so look, she'd have an absolute fuck ton of listeners we own. And what's this one called again? Is it Say Something or
yes,
Say Something? I don't think
there might be more than one version because there's like them with her version and just them on their own version.
Yeah, look, it appears that there's no. Oh yeah, Great Big World and Christina Aguilera, Say Something, CD single. Looks like you could probably pick one up for. Jesus Christ.
How much is the CDR version? I prefer a blank CD with texture on it.
$29.63 for the CD.
See, that's the normal pattern we've been going on with these. Yeah. That's why that 75 cents was a bit weird. If you haven't been paying any attention, and I can't blame you for 1 second, CD prices have been going through the effing ceiling when they're even released at all now. Often they're digital only, so yeah.
Yeah, so look, apologies for not doing that. I've done them for all the rest.
How dare you?
So sorry about that.
How dare you not give A Great Big World the attention that
but yeah, so more Spotify listeners than one would have thought, Tom. Anything else to say about this?
No, please. Let's move on to some real music.
Fantastic. 31st of March for 1 week. She looks so perfect by 5 seconds of summer, Tom.
5 seconds of fame would have been an equally valid.
What do you have to say about these guys are from Australia? So let's immediately, let the listeners know that they are homegrown talent. What do you have to say about them?
This is 4 Aussies, as you say, and a multinational record label trying to recreate the success of the Jonas Brothers, McFly, Busted, etc. by doing a version of pencil case pop punk every bit as consciously sculpted as the band's haircuts. In the 90s, we called this sellout corporate bullshit, but by this point it's just called normal, and record critics are forced to pretend to take it seriously or else they won't have much to review outside of Bob Dylan's latest Christian Christmas album.
Yeah, look, Tom, you're a punk rock lover. I often see with flowers
you can tell
in
by
your
the flowers in my hair.
Correct,
yes, exactly right.
Which we know is a giveaway sign. But you don't seem to be feeling the punk rock offerings of 5 sauce. which is what I believe their fans call them, five sauce. That's the abbreviation.
Yes.
Now, rather than 5 seconds of summer, 5 sauce makes sense. So I generally refer to them as 5 SOS because whenever I'm in a shop and I hear one of their songs, I immediately call emergency services to get me the fuck out of there.
True. I mean, sometimes you're in a large department store, there's no way out from either of the exits, and you need a SWAT team to blow a hole in the roof and drop a rope ladder through it out to a helicopter.
For sure, just making a phone call. What's your emergency? Someone's playing 5 seconds of summer in the supermarket. Yes. Can you get me out? So,
look, for a band who co-wrote the song, play their instruments, and aren't somehow from a reality TV competition, this is about as manufactured as you can get.
Yep.
Like, Busted were fucking terrible, and that was years ago. Like, look, step one on the pop punk success trail is to follow the Busted route and immediately erase all traces of authenticity or your actual background, or which country you came from, in favour of fake American bullshit. In this one performance, that fake American bullshit includes fake American accents, fake American cop uniforms, fake racist African American Latino prisoners wearing fake orange prison uniforms we don't have in Australian prisons, fake neon in a fake laneway with fake American advertising with fake American phone numbers on it, chorus referencing American apparel underwear, fake American high school classroom with fake American L-shaped desk that we don't have in Australia, fake American teacher doing Physics 101, which is not a designation that we use in our educational system, fake American diner with bilingual Spanish signs that we don't have here, fake American courtroom with the City of LA seal, and fake reference to making a mixtape, which is not specific to America, but clearly retro pandering bullshit because the band would have been 3 years old the last time Brashers sold blank cassettes. Everyone strips down to their underwear for no song-related reason, except the band who pussy out, for fuck's sake. At least Blink-182 had the common decency to get naked and run down the street on their own. This shit makes Blink-182 sound superb.
Look, this is...
At least Blink-182 are from California.
Yeah, this is terrible. The American apparel underwear thing I find particularly annoying because they are from Australia and we don't have American apparel shops here.
They sold it here in some shops, but like...
Yep.
It's such a specific, deliberate reference, you know. That's what I'm talking about.
Now, you didn't seem to be too into the song or the video, Tom, but let me tell you something about the video. Here's a quote from one of the band members.
Sure.
I guess we were just looking around for ideas for the video, and the director, Frank, came to us with this idea of the song just making people want to take their clothes off or something, and we were like, that's amazing. Now, that raises a few questions, Tom. One, a music video where people take their clothes off is not new.
No.
There's nothing about this music video that's new, and if you think that's amazing, then clearly you don't have much point of reference for things that are actually of any quality.
I will say this in defence of the band, that It's Amazing might be covering up a lot of other stuff that they were also thinking, because the band in this do appear to be about 18, so they might have just wanted to see some cans. I can't blame them. I'm pretty sure that the Bloodhound Gang, for instance, did an entire naked video just so they could look at porn stars' tits, which is what they do in the video.
Exactly. So look, you know, sometimes if you've got the budget to do it and people are going to let you do it and you want to do it...
That does not make a good video, though. I'm not saying that by any means.
Yep.
Look, and in case you're thinking, why the fuck would anyone bother with any of this, this insanely derivative fucking 10th wave post pop punk bullshit derivative trifle went triple platinum in Australia, sold 1 million copies in the US, was a UK #1, and as all artists one day dream of, Ben, was covered by Ed Sheeran on Capital FM. As of mid-2020, the band's estimated net worth is approximately $81 million.
Christ on a bike. I think you look at this and you say to yourself, okay, so you've got a pure boy band such as someone like that we fortunately haven't had to talk about at the moment, One Direction, where it's just sort of in the sort of traditional New Kids on the Block style, 5 dudes doing whatever. And this is obviously, let's take 4 young dudes, they're not unattractive guys, they're young, they can play some instruments, but let's sort of mould them into what's effectively a boy band, but they're doing pop punk. Because is that a new spin on the genre or not really?
Yeah, I mean, I would have had to go back through there. You'd have to go do a deep dive on their history to find out to what extent they were actually originally a band and how at what point they were pushed together.
They
become a
they
band.
met. I think they met at high school. So
Yeah,
I think they're a real
they
band.
dropped out of high school
yeah.
to do this, so they must have been very young. But we don't know which record company executive was hanging around outside the playground with high-powered binoculars, looking for talent for his Lou Pearlman sex blimp to go up in the sky. So but I know what you mean. Like it's sort of that's why I thought of the Jonas Brothers, because they were sort of
It's just, they play instruments as well.
and they're actually brothers. It's not like they're sort of like Hanson. You can go, well, they're fake, but I mean they're not as fake as some things.
Now, Tom, would it surprise you if I told you that by 5SOS's third album, they'd completely ditched the fake punk aesthetic and moved into a synth electronic pop territory?
No.
Would that surprise you?
No, it would not surprise
No,
me at all.
I think when someone's fake punk, it's very easy to shed the fake punk.
It's
isn't
funny
it?
you should say that, because this is what happens with a lot of Christian bands, which we have discussed tangentially.
Oh,
Weirdly
sure.
enough, there haven't been a lot of number ones.
No.
But they have come up a lot. And they often end up shifting their sound over time in a similar way, because they are inherently, again, fake, not in the sense that they're necessarily constructed externally, but they're fake in that their entire existence is often an attempt to cash in on a sound, e.g. whatever's prevalent in pop culture. So if you do that, then why stick with one sound? Like, if you only ever existed to cash in on a thing people were willing to pay money for, and people stop being willing to pay money, then just fucking move on to the next thing,
Yeah.
If it's trip hop, then go, all right, well, now we're doing trip hop.
Exactly right.
It's not like all the people, we've got a diehard audience of critical fanatics who are going to lose their shit if we start
Indeed, I
yelling Judas at us from the crowd because we, picked up a harmonica or something like that.
Exactly right. Look, this isn't my cup of tea, Tom.
Oh, fuck no.
Fair
No.
enough. How about the lyrics? I assume that despite this being very, very highly manufactured, that there's some good... To sell 1 million copies, you can't just write any lyrics, surely.
Well, as is stated, they dropped out of high school, so I guess you could plead the Daniel Johns defence, e.g., look, every musician was in a shit high school band, etc. But that said, this is what will happen when you make potentially talented, very young musicians go on a songwriting workshop with Busted, which is what they actually did in the UK. Nothing good. Let's get out, because this deadbeat town's only here just to keep us down. While I was out, I found myself alone just thinking, if I showed up with a plane ticket and a shiny diamond ring with your name on it, would you want to run away too? Which completely gives the game away again, because no real punk would have enough money for a plane ticket, let alone an engraved diamond ring. Certainly wouldn't say that in a song if they did. And the fact that this is the first thing that occurs to you as a seduction technique proves your upper middle class white boy origins even better than your Reese Maston tats and soft serve ice cream haircut.
Yeah.
So, there's really nothing I can say about this. Busted were bad enough. This is just Busted 5 years later,
Look, the chorus that... everyone knows I've got the lyrics tattooed on my arm. You look so perfect standing there in your American Apparel underwear. We've talked about that. And I know now that I'm so down. I made a mixtape straight out of 94.
You did
You've
not.
got your ripped jeans lying on the floor, and I know now that I'm so down. Now... a couple of interesting points on that, Tom. Apparently, sales of American Apparel underwear went up 10% after the release of this single.
Depressing. They
It is
probably
very, very
used
depressing.
it in an ad, though.
And any of the members in this band, do you think any of them were born in 1994 to produce a mixtape out of 94? 2014, they'd be, none of them would be at 20 or over at this stage. So
No,
clearly not.
no.
So, what's on that 94 mixtape? You think? Like, a Green Day song, a basket case or something.
Maybe their parents' recording of their heartbeat in the womb from the ultrasound because they weren't even fucking born yet at that point.
I reckon that 94 mixtape would have crash test dummies on it, I reckon.
Hey, don't blame them for this, Jesus Christ.
No.
Avril Lavigne would beat these guys up in an alley for being fake as shit.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously.
For sure.
And then take a dump on Busted's car just to prove the point.
So, look, they've got 20 million Spotify fans, Tom. Probably doesn't
Fuck me.
surprise you. And this will cost you 85 cents on the Discogs. So
Wow,
there you
again, value for money
Yep.
compared to the last one. I mean, I guess you could say well done for being Australian and getting rich, but, seriously,
yeah,
that's about as
fake
far
pop
as it goes.
punk's about as bad as it gets, isn't it? So, should we move on?
Yes, please. What
Great.
have we got
14th
next?
of April for 3 weeks is Shepherd with Geronimo.
Yeah,
Another Australian
yeah,
group.
weirdly
Back to
enough.
back Australians.
Two
So,
Australians in a row, and neither of them are from the fucking X Factor.
no.
I don't know what's
it's
happening.
some sort of
It's
miracle.
Like it's 1983 again.
Yeah, exactly.
This held the longest stay at number one on the Australian singles charts for any independent release. Mm-hmm. It also reached the top 10 in 11 other countries. It was certified 7 times platinum in Australia, but that wasn't enough, and so the band copied the A Great Big World playbook.
Oh.
And shortly the song featured as the trailer theme for the 2015 Australian family film Paper Planes. Huge
great.
seller. I
Good.
think 17 people saw that. It was on the final of The Voice 2014, appeared in Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Chip, was used in Alpha and Omega, The Legend of the Sawtooth Cave, Underdogs, Norm of the North, and Shepherd performed the song in the TV series Girl Meets World. You're a big GMW fan, Ben. Was that your favourite episode?
Oh, look, I'd have to say the episode of Girl Meets Crazy Hat is my favourite, Tom. That's what happens there. Corey splits the class into 2 fake companies. The 2 companies run on completely different principles, Tom. One on customer happiness and one on profits. So Riley and Maya, they met a businesswoman on the subway who they assumed crazy lady. She seems a bit nuts.
Sure.
But then she visits them in class and they discover that she's a building named after her. And then the girls decide to make a real company and learn that helping people is, in fact, better than profits.
Wow.
So that's my favourite Girl Meets World episode. And the reason I like the episode, Tom, is that it really does embody the ethos of not only the characters on Girl Meets World, but also the parent company that produces the show, Disney, who, as far as I can tell, have never put profits first.
No, they're famous
They're
for that.
always very focused on quality entertainment, and profits take a distant second.
Which
so.
is a good thing, because I think as of 20 minutes ago, they now own everything.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
I think all corporations are now just Disney, so...
But not for profits, Tom. Just
No,
for,
that's what I mean. Purely for the love. Just the same as Apple,
Yep.
They're all about white things that look nice. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Disney's just about entertaining the people and giving them what they want, and sort of in a very altruistic fashion, I think.
I've got to admit, that sounds like a slightly more intelligent plot for an episode than I was expecting for something which I've never actually watched and always just assumed was some sort of Dawson's Creek knockoff.
Well, that's why it's my favourite episode, Tom, because it's sort of
It goes to a place you're not expecting.
exactly right. Most people would think that it's a show that's sort of it doesn't have a lot under the surface. It's sort of, you look at it and go, oh, this isn't very deep. It doesn't have a lot of substance. But
No.
that episode, I think, proves everyone that thinks that wrong. And it does
Yes.
show that, we can learn something from Girl Meets World.
Yeah, and as Theranos and Ivanka Trump have demonstrated, women are obviously better at running ethical companies than men are.
Completely right. Completely.
Yeah. Look, the title of the song, Geronimo, is a reference to the famous Apache military leader Geronimo and the custom of yelling his name before doing a courageous act.
Yep.
Problem is that in the years since 1857, when this first happened, it's become such a sort of mundane thing to do that the chorus might as well be Say YOLO or Say Leroy Jenkins. On the other hand, the name Geronimo translates from Chiricahua as the one who yawns, which seems like quite an apt link to this song.
Yeah, exactly.
It also seems possible that it also comes from Doctor Who says Geronimo quite a lot, apparently. I don't remember that. But, because the band do have a slightly nerdy sort of bent to them.
Oh, they look like fucking losers.
Yeah, I mean, it is an
joking.
Australian indie release, so,
They're a family band. Have I told you how much I hate a family band?
Oh, are they a family band?
Three of the members are family members.
Oh,
so.
I thought it was a brother and sister. Okay.
I can handle a brother and sister. Killing Heidi, Tom, one of my favourites of all time. But I think once you get into 3 siblings, it's definitely it's a less is more sort of territory. So there's 3 family members in this, which is why it's so shit. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not shit actually. The chorus is very catchy.
The chorus is catchy. There's some decent production, but not a heat
No.
to it, really. Did you watch the video?
There's two of them, Tom. And
Oh,
I watched
yes,
them both.
that's
so there's a local video, the Australian video, Tom, where Shepherd, the band, created a monster out of cardboard. And
that's
then
right.
they bring the cardboard monster to life with electricity, which is how you bring things to life. You
Especially
just pump some
cardboard
electricity
things,
through
yes.
it. Then they fought a battle with another group of people, all brandishing cardboard weapons. Then the singer from Shepherd, who I think his name is Shepherd, I don't know, but I'm just calling him Shepherd from now on. So Shepherd realises that there was a chick on the enemy side that he wanted to dick. He didn't know what to do. But as I mentioned, fortunately, all the other weapons were made of cardboard.
Oh, okay.
So the battle, no one was injured in that. So basically,
okay.
they just had this fake cardboard fight, and I think he dicked the chick, from what I can understand.
Sure.
That's the first
I hope
video.
he was using cardboard
I
protection
think
while
so.
that
I think so.
happened.
So that's the first video. The second video, look, the record label obviously weren't that into the cardboard monster thing. They thought that's not going to cut it for an international audience. So in the other one, they're playing in a warehouse where they've made the word Geronimo out of like ladders and shit. So they've spelt out Geronimo with like a ladder and some cardboard and some other bullshit. Makes less sense than the cardboard monster one, to be honest.
It's
So I'm not
more
sure.
boring. I thought it was the other way round. I assumed that the cardboard one, what with all that expensive Nintendo Labo equipment that they were forced to destroy in order to make it, cost more than the warehouse one. Looked like an afterthought in some Melbourne backstreet where they've gone, oh fuck,
I think,
we got any ladders lying around?
completely agree with that. I'd just say that people in America don't like, I don't know a lot about America, but from what I understand, they like liquid cheese, that really weird liquid cheese, they like that. The access to semi-automatic weapons, no matter what your age or
Kid
anything like
playgrounds
that.
and so forth.
But they really don't like cardboard monsters, That's from what I understand. So I think
okay.
so. Shepherd probably didn't know that. They took this to the record label and they said, "Look, we love the song, we love everything about this, but cardboard monsters will not play in America. So how about you head down?" And they said, "Well, fuck, you gave us $5,000 and we spent $4,900 on that cardboard monster, so we've got nothing left." And they're just like, "Well, $100," and they said, "Well, just go down to the warehouse, get a fucking ladder, spell out Geronimo with a ladder and some other bullshit, and you're good to go." So they've done that, and yeah, look, both videos. I prefer the cardboard monster one. Makes no sense at all. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it's interesting.
It's got that sort of indie video kind of slight twee quirkiness, that Michel Gondry OK Go-ish thing, which was real popular sort of around this time still. But
someone had to make that cardboard monster. I mean, that's cool. Some dude constructed
it's
that.
more interesting than a warehouse, sure.
bullshit.
And anyway.
Look, if Geronimo, I don't know where it was filmed. The guys are from Australia. If I met the guy that made the cardboard monster versus the guy, you're at a pub. The guy that made the cardboard monster's there.
Yeah.
The guy that made Geronimo spelled out of ladders and shit is there.
Exactly.
Who are you buying a beer? Not the fucking Geronimo out of ladders.
No.
The cardboard monster, probably wouldn't buy either of them a beer, to be honest. They're like, "Hey, mate, I worked on the Geronimo video." I'd be like, "I don't give a fuck." But if I had to,
Yes,
at
I take your point.
gunpoint, definitely the guy that made the cardboard monster. I'm like, "Look, I respect your work. Good work."
Yeah, look, the last thing Shepherd did was a Christmas single in 2021. So that's how it's going now. Good on them for not pretending to be American, I guess. They had some other follow-up sort of songs, like they kept working. I think one of the family members left the band at some
Jesus
point.
Christ, gone solo.
But yeah, this was definitely...
Is that like when Casey Chambers left her dad's band? Is it like that? So
it's the high watermark of their career, as far as
these guys, I think they are officially in one-hit wonder territory, as no other song they've released has cracked the top 20. I think they performed at like an AFL or NRL grand final a couple of years. So for people that don't know that,
level,
so I think if you get to perform at the grand final, you sort of, I guess you've made it to some degree, perhaps. But look, this is obviously, as you said, this is their really only song. But look, if you've Christmas single, When was that released? Last year?
2021, yeah. So.
Well, maybe, Tom, it's a really slow descent, and by December of this year, it'll finally hit the top of the chart.
Sure,
so that's all
they
I
might
can
get
say.
some of that Westlife money.
Now, I was trying to find, because the song, the chorus I think is pretty catchy, but because the song's pretty boring and the band's kind of boring, everything about this is pretty boring, I was trying to find some sort of interesting fact that the listeners would go,
I really
that's very,
struggled.
very
I
interesting.
struggled
That's
with
interesting.
this one.
So I did a deep dive, and apparently, Tom, this is the first single to reach number one on the ARIA charts recorded in Brisbane.
Oh,
apparently.
okay. Oh, okay.
So there you go.
I mean,
take most of these songs.
Savage Garden were from Brisbane,
Well,
but
yeah,
they
there you go.
probably recorded their shit overseas.
They might have, yeah,
It's
exactly.
the thing, the indie release thing, that was about as interesting as I could get.
Well,
That
look,
this
what-
was, and even then, it's not the first Australian number one indie release. It's just the one that was at the top
Yeah.
for the longest point.
So that's I say apparently. So look, we'll get the guy from we'll get Darren Hayes on the phone. We'll get him on the show and say, Darren, did you record any of those Savage Garden hits in Brisbane? And if he says I did not, I'll say okay, Shepard's claim is probably correct. If he says no, we recorded some of these in Brisbane, I'll be like, all right, I'll stricken from the record. Maybe I'll reach out to him on Twitter. Maybe he loves the Twitter.
Yes,
so
he
see
sure
what's
does.
going on. Definitely.
Look, there's one other weird thing about talking about Shepard for me, which is, are you familiar with the games Mass Effect?
I know of it. Yeah.
There's four of them. They're these
Okay.
video games. They're very long, epic things. Like if you played, I've played number 2 and number 3. If you do that, you're in for like sort of 40 to 60 hours of continual. And they have a lot of speech in them. And the main character is called Shepard, which means that if you've played those, you've heard people repeat the name Shepard in reference to one very specific character. So this band, it's a bit like calling yourself Captain Kirk or something. Like it's kind of, to some people, it's just kind of, oh well, but to other people, it's going to be a bit of a weird name. But yeah, anyway.
What are the lyrics like?
Lyrics, well, I'm just a boy with a broken toy. Good Lord. All lost and coy at the curtains of the waterfall. So it's here I stand as a broken man, but I found my friend at the curtains of the waterfall. He really loves the phrase curtains of the waterfall,
Yeah, he
Ben.
does.
It comes up a lot. I'm not sure if this is a half-remembered scene from The Last of the Mohicans or a vag metaphor, but either way, he repeats it about 26 times. So clearly it meant a lot to the brother-sister songwriting team. So, let's hope it's The Last of the Mohicans.
I'm hoping it's that one. So yeah, because you don't want to be. I think if you're in a band with your sister and you're like doing curtains of the waterfall, and she's like, what's it about? And he's like, vagina. I don't think that you'd be like fucking.
I mean, it doesn't even really fly with because you would think the Geronimo would be the most obvious thing for the Geronimo thing would be taking a risk and falling into love.
Yep.
But it doesn't kind of jibe with the actual. I don't know. The whole song seems to hang on the phrase "Say Geronimo," which sounds kind of catchy to yell, but look.
Look, dare I say, Tom, that occasionally these choruses and the verses have nothing in common, which is perhaps songwriting's out the window.
A
as
lack
well.
of lyrical
Yeah,
cohesion.
I know.
The top 10
Damn.
charts.
So 3.7 million for those guys, which is more than I thought.
For Australia, that's
a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
So they must be operating, obviously out of the charts, but they must still be sort of, an indie level sort of band that's still releasing shit that people care about, because that's quite a lot more than I would have thought. And this will cost you $5.98. So there you go. Anything more to say about this?
No, please, let's move on.
Oh, look, Tom, one thing I will say about Geronimo is that, that Curtains of the Waterfall, the backing vocalist does a bit of bombs away, doesn't she? Bombs away, bombs away. So, could be a song about taking a dump.
Could be over a waterfall, perhaps. Sure.
I might just edit this out. So, up next is... for 1 week, May. Now, this was always going to happen, Tom.
It was.
And we
I knew
finally...
it was coming, like the apocalypse.
Yeah,
and yet
exactly.
Somehow
And we're
I
here.
was unprepared.
We're here. It is 1 week, Sing by Ed Sheeran.
Yes. Fuck you, 2014, for making me listen to Ed Sheeran.
Yep.
I said nice things about you before, but I knew he was going to show up eventually, but I still wasn't prepared. This is written and sung by a human being who is also playing guitar. So that's a plus.
Yep.
It's catchy and upbeat, but so is Rabies, and I'm guessing that most of whatever listenability this has is due to Pharrell's bulletproof production skills and less to do with Sheeran's undercranked busker stylings and white boy bloodnut raps
Exactly.
he
Look,
drops with alarming frequency.
yeah. Look, as someone who's heard let's face it, Tom, far too much Ed Sheeran in the last 6 years, and
Holy
that's
Christ.
that's as a result of just he's out there in the ether, and sort of the fact that particularly in the last couple of years where most of Australia, particularly us here in Victoria, have been trapped in our houses for 2 years, and most weekends, look, my kids will wake up, they like watching music videos on Rage,
Sure.
which shows the charts. And that means for, I'd say, the last 3 to 4 years, almost unbroken, there is an Ed Sheeran song
Somewhere
or
in
two
the charts. Yeah.
every week. And that sort of, because it seems that he'll have a song and it'll just be in the top 10 for a year, and then he'll release another album, and then it's just that non-stop. So I've heard a fuckload of Ed Sheeran recently. And look, what I'll say is, Tom, that this is one of his best. So
Yeah, I know.
if you
I
don't
know.
enjoy this, and you're in for a rough ride for probably every episode until we reach the
Yes,
present
it's
day.
downhill from here.
Look, when I say best, that's obviously a relative term, but as you mentioned, and I think as most people would suggest, a lot of that has to do with, and by a lot I mean everything, Pharrell's influence.
Yes, yeah. In case you think we're being unfair to old Ed Wood, Sheeran talked about recording together with Pharrell after an errant tweet got the two together to work on a song. I won't read most of it because it's obviously too boring. But
Is the errant tweet real? That's
yes.
so. What happened? So, do you know the backstory to that?
I think he just, Pharrell heard one of his, more recent songs and just sent and retweeted it or added a like to it or something. So he called him up and said, "Do you want to work on a song?" And so yeah,
Okay.
and well, a quote. So Pharrell went off. He has 3 different studios in his building and has 3 different sessions going on at any one time. And I wrote the top line. He came back in, we placed it all together. I wrote probably 7 different verses and 3 different choruses, and then we just picked the best ones and stuck them together.
Good.
So Pharrell can literally crank out 3 of these tunes simultaneously. He just needs a white dude with an Instagram following who can slap words together and you're done for the day. His production is so good that it almost manages to override the Ed Sheeran-ness, but it can't because he's the fucking singer and lyricist, so there's still way too much Ed Sheeran-ness for comfort.
Look,
but as you say, by comparison to when I listened back to this, I was like, this isn't quite as bad as I
bad.
remembered him being. But then, you listen to the next song, and then you're like, oh, yep, that's right.
But that's pretty wild, though, when you think about the fact that... So you just imagine this, like... I kind of imagine, like, some crazy comedy sketch where there's 3 floors and there's a studio on each one, and then Pharrell's just going up the elevator and coming out and going, add some keyboards, and then popping up. And
It'd be way funnier if they didn't know he was also had 2 other studios in his building, and they just thought he had to pretend to have diarrhea and wear a moustache in one of the studios and a funny hat in the other.
Sounds like one of those things where a dude's accidentally at a restaurant with 2 women at the same time. He's like, oh shit, I got the concept.
Maybe that explains the Canadian Mountie hat. Like he put it on as a disguise, forgot he was wearing it, and accidentally got out of the car at an awards show. And
But that's pretty great that Pharrell's just sort of like can work on sounds like several pieces of music simultaneously.
I mean, if you wanted to play devil's advocate, you might possibly maybe suggest that 3-in-1 approach reflects the amount of effort
quality
that is required to put into modern pop music and make you wonder how many songs Max Martin's working on simultaneously. I don't know, 40 or something like
I assume that, when they say Max Martin produced that, I just assume it's sort of like Rembrandt's studio or something, like it's actually students that are painting the shit. And Rembrandt was just fucking out dicking chicks or something.
Auto signature machine.
What's
that guy George Bush's Secretary of Defence used to sign letters to dead soldiers because he was too lazy to sign his fucking name on the
So I imagine that Max Martin just has some sort of computer algorithm now that just pens the songs or something, and he just pops in from time to time and goes, edit this in. But yeah, so look, Pharrell doesn't get a guest spot on this, which is...
no, he's just back to production again.
Yeah, but that's, do you reckon that's because he didn't want his name attached to the Ed Sheeran song?
I suspect the ones that the last few that we've done of his are the ones where he would spend a full day just on that one song.
Because he does
shit like this is just like
he does say sing louder in the chorus. He does do that.
I barely even noticed.
I don't know who was that chick a few weeks ago who got a guest spot and did like 3 words in it or something.
Neon.
Yes.
Underpants.
I can't remember.
And there was
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yes. She says the same. She says 3 lines.
Yep.
4 times. 3 words 4 times.
So
for a
in
total
this,
of 12.
Pharrell just says 2 words. He goes sing louder.
That's more like Timberland.
And he is in the video clip as well. So, but look, he gets a songwriting credit for this, as he's involved in the songwriting, and that probably financed Pharrell's 15th pool. I don't know. He'd have a lot of fucking pools at that house. So
that?
He'd have a house. He'd probably have a house. I reckon Pharrell would have a house in every state of America with a pool at each one. I assume. So I don't know.
Look, speaking of the video, it features a Muppet version of Ed Sheeran, which is, I would estimate, at least 350% more fuckable than the real thing, who also features, unfortunately, in the video. If he hadn't, it might have accidentally risked being mildly amusing to have real people with a puppet, but instead it just looks like a Sesame Street sketch with added uni student drug references and a strip club scene at one of those places from post-90s movies where the dancers don't take their clothes off, just in case something interesting might happen in the background. But yeah, they made a weird decision to make the puppet more attractive, and I suspect not a ranger. We might have to check the tape on that one, but I'm pretty sure that puppet does not have red hair, which, again, might say a lot. It's also got a normal shaped face instead of the weird CRT monitor shaped head that Ed Sheeran's got.
Absolutely. Now, look, the clip does raise a lot of questions. Well, probably only one question, to be honest. How many chicks fucked the Ed Sheeran puppet? Because it tends to, he's in a strip club in a bit, and there's a lot of the puppet getting chicks into the stretch Hummer at one point.
There's drinking
there's
champagne.
a lot of innuendo. Yeah. There's a lot of innuendo. So, and I don't know, like as you mentioned, would the females in that sort of stretch Hummer, would they be more inclined to have sex with a puppet or the real Ed Sheeran? I guess we'll never ever know.
Yes.
So, look, Ed claims though that the video was inspired by a night out with Psy of Gangnam Style fame. So apparently he went out one night with Psy. They got really, really drunk on the soju, is it? The Korean spirit. So apparently Psy just can hammer that shit back, and it just doesn't surprise me at all. So apparently, he got quite drunk on that. So
that explains the song. It doesn't really explain the video.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. So
the songs, as you say, is just about going out and getting pissed.
So when Ed was like, the video was inspired by a night out with Psy, are we to assume that Psy fucks puppets? Is that the takeaway? Possibly. Is that what Ed's implying? Or
maybe
is it
Ed Sheeran's such a massive racist, he thinks of Koreans as being not quite real human beings.
I've got no idea. The puppet is unexplained.
Sorry,
exactly.
It might seem, if you just landed on Earth and had only started listening to music, you might be thinking we were being a bit unfair on Ed Sheeran, but if you're not 12 years old, then really I can only say check the tapes on that one as well.
The thing about Ed Sheeran is that as a person, I have no problem with Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, he's probably a fine person. I think it's a bit unfair to judge him on his looks. I just do it because it's cheap and I'm lazy.
But I've sort of been forced to see him on TV or interviews or blah blah blah. But he does, for the biggest pop star in the world, he does seem relatively down to earth. So credit to that. He seems to be sort of really into, doesn't take himself too seriously, as you can tell from the music videos. That sort of stuff. So, look, I respect all of that. But the problem is that he's too prolific, Tom. He writes too many songs. They're not good enough, and they just are everywhere. And
right.
I've had enough of him in my life without inviting him in. I've not invited him
Yes.
in, but he's
He's
constantly
one of those people. You can tell he comes from a singer-songwriter background where writing a song to completion is not as difficult as it is when you've got to have a whole band working together or figure out orchestral arrangements or whatever. And they tend to be prolific, like old what's his name from last year, Passenger, where he's put out an album every year for 15 years.
Yep.
And I think you're right. I think if he did a third of the content and put 3 times as much work into it, he would have a lot better songs that sounded a lot less like a fucking busker. And maybe as well, if he wanted people to find him a bit less annoying, he should put slightly more effort into his appearance and doing something interesting on stage instead of standing at the front with shit posture, motionless, twanging an ugly guitar, looking down at the floor like he was playing shoegaze, not shit pop punk for 12-year-old girls.
Yeah, my wife has a massive problem with Ed Sheeran's appearance, and I think the reason for that is she thinks that all female pop stars are judged heavily on their appearance. They're all criticised about not, being dressed well enough, not, being overweight, or not... Sorry,
6 months too old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're consistently judged on that, and my wife's problem is that, look, one of the biggest pop stars in the world, all he needs is a stylist, to just sort of say, mate, maybe just
or a
not
haircut.
have hair that looks like you've just jumped out of the bath, maybe just sort of, and
just stage presence or something,
just a little bit of time thinking about that. But then at the same time, it's sort of like, will that detract from his everyman sort of popularity?
I know what you mean. There are bands and styles of music that have everyman popularity, but at this point, his everyman popularity is gone.
Yep.
When you're working with Pharrell and shit, you don't have everyman popularity anymore.
Yep.
At that point, you might as well embrace your inner Bono, start talking about Mephisto and putting on plastic glasses on stage. Just at least enjoy yourself, for fuck's sake. Nobody thinks you're everyman anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I think...
Sorry, that's my personal...
No, fair enough. Look, one interesting thing about this track, Tom, is that the week of its release, the album that it came from, so Ed Sheeran's, this is off his album Multiply, which is just an X. So he's got, what he does is, one of them's like a plus sign. I assume that's addition, and who the fuck knows. But this one's off the X1, so multiply. And this coincided with the incorporation of streaming into the singles charts.
Ah, okay.
So what that meant is that enough Ed Sheeran fans streamed the individual tracks. So there were 12 songs on that multiply album, and they streamed all the songs. The fans just listened to them all the time, and because streaming counted to the charts for the first time, chart positions 4, 17, 25, 38, 45, 46, 49, 57, 59, 60, 62 and 82 were all Ed Sheeran.
Wow.
So he became the first ever artist to have every song on an album be in the top 100 single charts concurrently. So
that just proves that it's not the same thing as counting actual bought.
Exactly
songs,
right. Exactly.
What is it? You said it's a formula where it's like 3 streams counts as one song or something like that.
No, it's like 1,000 streams counts as one download.
It was 3. It was 3 online purchases.
But anyway,
it doesn't necessarily mean that's wrong. It just shows that it's not equivalent.
So this is the first song, and it's happened subsequently to that where you can look at the top 100 and go, oh shit, there's 12 songs from the same artist in there. And only maybe 2 of them are released as actual singles, but because people have streamed them, so that's where we're getting. And as we'll see in coming weeks, particularly with fucking Ed Sheeran, whenever he brings something new out, it's just the whole charts is just Ed Sheeran.
It is kind of cool, I suppose you could say, in a way that it shows that nowadays that it's one less publishing industry thing to be necessary, the idea of releasing a single commercially. Whereas you just put out an album and then all of the songs count as singles and can be recorded, and theoretically people might fall in love with one song off an album that has not been, and it doesn't need to be promo budget and all that shit. That's kind of cool.
I do like that, yeah. The rather than the record label
anything
choosing
that gets people to listen to albums these days. I'm Gen X. I like the idea of albums still. If it gets people to listen to track 8, then that's good with me. But
But I think also at the same time, it does say, hey, the record label's not saying, what should we release as a single? The fans are deciding which song that one's great, and then but then it also has that other effect where then the record labels can look at it and go, oh shit, everyone's streaming track 7. We didn't think that was going to be the single, but let's make a music video for it now because everyone seems to be feeling that shit.
But it's like a free test market.
Yeah, but how many? I mean, doing this podcast, I've certainly read a lot of interviews with people that have said, I thought the first single should have been this, and then they chose this, and they chose a song that was dog shit, and it should have been this one, and it ruined my career or whatever. So at least,
that's true. As long as you can get the album onto Spotify. Yeah.
So, what about Ed's lyrics? Or is Pharrell writing the lyrics on this as well? What's going on?
It's written by, the song's credited to written by Sheeran and Pharrell, although, from the sounds of it sounds more like he wrote the lyrics and Pharrell helped him pick which were the least shitty verses.
Yeah.
It's featuring Pharrell and produced by Pharrell. Why Pharrell chose to wave his fairy wand over this one uninspiring ranger and give him a hit song in America and Australia is beyond me. Perhaps Sheeran spotted him some pingers after the after party. Perhaps his judgment was warped after the Blurred Lines incident. Perhaps Ed told him he was one of the Daft Punk robots with his helmet off.
Yeah.
Who knows? But anyway, he came out with lyrics such as, I told her my name, then she said it's nice to meet you. Then she handed me a bottle of water filled with tequila. I already know if she's a keeper. Just from this one small act of kindness, I'm in deep shit if anybody finds out. I meant to drive home, but I drunk all of it now. Not sobering up, we just sit on the couch. One thing led to another, now she's kissing my mouth.
Cool.
Yeah, not sure what's my favourite part of listening to a golf ball coloured blood nut drop gangster raps over acoustic guitar strumming. Probably the bit where he rhymes you, tequila, keeper, and in, or the part where he specifies that she's kissing my mouth, so we know she's not giving him a rusty trombone in a public bar, which might actually be dangerous or interesting compared to anything else in the song, which is just about, we got a bit drunk and went home.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, who the fuck approved the rapping on this? That's the big takeaway for me.
The fact that he was doing it in the studio with an African American, and
I would have thought that Pharrell of all people would have interjected at some point. He's a guy that's produced a lot of fucking hit singles, as well as being in Nerd and doing the Neptunes production when he's not doing his own production. He's worked across many different genres of music, hip hop being one of them. So he's heard, he knows what rapping is. And at some point, shouldn't he have just said, bro, maybe just do half as many words and sing them, because you've got too many words in there.
There are
you
too
have
many.
to wrap them in there.
I mean, like that whole chorus, you could summarise that in 3 lines. That chorus, that verse, and not rap them and just sing them and get the same message across.
It's like when Rob Flynn from Machine Head said, I wrote some lyrics to this song. There were so many of them. The only way I could fit them in was to rap them. And it's just like, we'll have less lyrics, mate, because your rapping is atrocious. So
I suppose I can't. Again, that's a Pharrell thing where it's hard to say. I don't know whether whether to respect him for the fact that he can see past, sketchy white rapping to the potential money-making opportunities,
the extra pool,
and of the music in general.
We do know Pharrell's,
or whether it's bad because of that, where he's just like, I don't give a fuck. I can tell this is going to make money, so I'm going to put it out, even though I don't actually think it's very good.
Look, he's also working for 3 rooms at the same time, so there is a chance that he was only. Look, he was out of the studio for 2/3 of the time. Maybe that was when Ed was rapping, and he came back in, just heard the chorus, and went, that's great, no problem. Duck back downstairs. Ed does some more rapping. He comes back and he's like, yep, cool, no problem. And then he's out of the country when they were mixing it or
That's
something,
right.
and then it got released. He was like, oh, fucking hell, I didn't know he was rapping on this. So who knows?
I mean, unless he was doing 3 rooms and he actually also did have diarrhea and had to keep running out of the room.
Jesus, it's got. I mean, 3 rooms and the diarrhea.
toilet,
He's hardly there at all. That's why he only does 2 words in the chorus. He's like, sing loud. He's like, I got to get down to room 3 and take another shit. So I don't know.
Yeah, look, I think of the word musical genius. The term musical genius gets thrown around way too much, but
Yep.
I tend to think of, in the stricter, the more old-fashioned sense of people like Kanye West, who are more like geniuses in the sense that they're slightly unhinged, capable of great things, but also capable of doing a lot of fucking stupid, irritating shit.
Yep.
Whereas people like Pharrell are more like quality craftsman / tradesman, and
Yep.
one of the realities of being a commercial craftsman is that you polish turds. Sometimes you just
Yeah,
got to polish
exactly.
turds, and sometimes you sell the turds, and people love those delicious shiny turds.
They do love
They
them,
go,
yeah.
the sheen on this turd is exemplary. I'm going to take it home with me and keep it.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's it. When he's working, Pharrell, he's quite happy to work in any medium as long as it's gonna,
That's
bring
right.
some cash
The
in.
medium of Despicable Me Too, for instance.
Despicable Me Too, as well as fucking this garbage. Now,
Sure.
are you ready for this?
Yeah,
Tom?
what's
Are
next?
you ready?
I'm ready.
Well, I got to tell you the Spotify
Oh,
numbers.
yeah, please.
You want to have a stab at this one before we
Oh,
reveal them?
God, Ed Sheeran. Well, he does have the most clicked on YouTube video on the internet that's not parental.
Yep.
Although you could say that Baby Shark and Shape of You are about the same emotional level. Oh, God. So it has to be one of the biggest in the world. I'm going to say 70 million.
You're not far off, Tom. 80 million.
80 million, fuck.
But that's as much as we've had. That's
yeah,
the biggest
that's
we've
the
had
biggest.
by...
That's bigger than Eminem. That's bigger than
by
Rihanna.
far.
That's
By
bigger
far.
than people like Cher and stuff. From the days.
So, fucking hell, that's a lot. So,
Yep, that's-
credit where credit's due. People love garbage. This will cost you $10.50 as well on Spotify, on Discord. So there you go. Cool. All right. What do we got next?
What we've got next is 9 weeks from the 12th of May, Que Sera by Justice Crew. Oh dear, that's Axel insisting on reggae in order to remind us that the Justice Crew were from a Australia's Got Talent style TV show.
Sorry, did you say 9 weeks?
I said 9 weeks, unfortunately.
Jeez. Fuck this.
I know. I mean, whether
From
or
a
not
dance
that's-
posse.
whether or not that this is 9 times longer than the single by Ed Sheeran, I mean, it's a real, what was it? It's one of our real dying of various horrible things choices that you have to make. It's like this is not 9 times better than that, but at the same time, it's not great either. Look, I don't know, Ben. We talked about these guys before. They're a breakdance posse who are on a TV show that I can't even be bothered looking up. One of the Australian reality TV competitions.
Yep.
Look, there are 2 different videos to this song, Ben. There's a domestic version and international version.
As necessary to sort of-
Again, sure. What would you say was the elephant-sized hole in the room in both of those videos? What you might call a very conspicuous absence of something.
Having watched both videos, I can say for a dance posse, it was lacking any dancing of any kind.
Yes, yeah, you're right. It's breakdancing. It's what some might call the one thing that the Justice Crew are actually good at. On the other hand, I'm not a record producer, neither am I a fortune teller, nor a meteorologist, nor a maritime navigator. If I was, I might have been able to predict that a cyclone off the Great Australian Bight would suck up 2 container ships full of Chinese pharmaceuticals and deposit a high-grade cocktail of psychoactive chemicals into the nation's water supply during the winter of 2014, leading to this song being at number 1 for 9 consecutive weeks, because really that's the only plausible explanation.
Yeah, look, remember when the people of New Zealand sent 3 Crazy Frog songs to number 1 in the calendar year, and I was questioning the mental state of the nation as a collective? Well, this is possibly worse than that. Legitimate question, Tom. who would want to listen to this more than once? I watched both videos and had to turn the sound down on the second listen because after once I was like, I never, ever want to hear this again
so
for the
bad.
rest of my life. Now, top YouTube comment, Tom. Quote, who here in 2021 wishing they were back in the early 2010? Now look,
Ben, music's just not the same as it was
maybe,
in 2014.
Tom, maybe just maybe it would be fun to travel back in time with the knowledge that you have now, but that's completely unrelated to this fucking Justice Crew song. In fact, if I was able to travel back to 2010, I'd probably pull a Tonya Harding on key Justice Crew members to ensue they didn't win whatever the fuck show they were on, and then led to them being able to record this garbage.
Good Lord. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, I don't know what else you can really say about it other than it's about as good as people who rose to fame by being able to do one very specific kind of breakdancing and fuck all else.
Yep.
As we noted last week, they had one member who wanted to be some sort of star and they kicked him out for getting a prima donna complex, which I suppose demonstrates a certain sense of loyalty, but stops any one of the group from standing out in any way. Both of the videos are boring as fuck. They just stand in the line,
They're awful,
not dancing, singing quite badly.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else I can say other than, again, that shipment of chemicals that fell into the water supply and led this to being number one for 9 weeks.
Yeah. Now,
9 weeks, as many as Happy by Pharrell, you know?
Tom, have you ever seen a street performer juggle a chainsaw?
No, but I've seen plenty
On,
of fire
like, TV
swallowers
or-
and so forth.
yeah,
Yeah, on
exactly.
TV, sure.
So that's basically the equivalent of this song is sort of the equivalent of that, where someone is seen. Like if I see someone, you know, on TV, they're juggling a chainsaw or like sticking a sword down their throat or putting fire out on their tongue, you go, yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But that isn't in any way monetizable. You can't take someone juggling a chainsaw and go, let's convert that into something that people will pay for. Because
All you can do is do it in front of people
Yep.
who don't care and then ask them for money and
Yep.
hope that they feel guilty for watching you and give you some cash.
And what's happened here is the Justice Crew have done some b-boy moves on TV, and people went, "Yeah, look, that's not bad. They're okay dancers. That's cool." And then someone that we cannot monetize someone b-boying in any way, shape, or form, so we kind of have to turn them into like a boy band. So it's just like giving the chainsaw juggler a record deal and saying, "Can you sing a song now as the chainsaw juggler?" But then in the video clip, they just went, "Oh, don't worry about juggling the chainsaws anymore.
No.
Just sing." And then people go, "Once you take away the chainsaw juggling element, this is just fucking dog shit." And that's basically what the Justice Crew
bonkers,
are.
isn't it? Which
Completely nuts.
It makes you ask yourself the question:
Yeah.
was this a idiot freaking manager's fault who just said, "Oh no, we don't need that in this song"?
I don't know.
And then the boys were like, "But that's what
That's
we do."
that's
and
the
they were
only
like,
thing we do.
Or was it the other way round? Was the boys like, "Hey, we want to expand past our soul talent into the world of legitimate music"? And then they were like, "Are you sure? Because we've got 27 consecutive hours of you breakdancing filmed off CCTV cameras around, Brunswick. Can we not make that into a video?" And they've gone, "No, we want to stand on a runway wearing identical clothes, not dancing and failing to sing."
Oh, exactly. Look, this received a nomination at the 2014 ARIA Awards for Best Video. Now, ARIA...
This is what we're working with in Australia, people. This is what we're working with.
They were clearly riding Justice Crew's dick pretty hard at this stage, as this video is one of the blandest fucking things going.
They both
So for them to be like,
neither
both
of them. One just looks slightly more expensive
So
than the other one.
for them to get a Best Video nomination, someone must have been like, yeah, let's give them a nomination. So that,
The $5 Nintendo Labo cardboard video from Geronimo is way more interesting than both of these, even though one probably cost more. But
so look, Tom, you might be wondering. So this is from
I'm not.
2000.
I'll pretty much guarantee that I'm not. I'm pretty much bored.
You might be wondering, Tom. You might be wondering what the Justice Crew got up to after this song. I'm sure you are. You might be wondering. So, Tom, you might be wondering what the Justice Crew. So in 2019, Justice Crew competed in America's Got Talent, The Champions. Where they get a lot of talent people from around
other
the world
countries,
to compete. So they were eliminated in the first round,
Of course
obviously,
they were,
because they're fucking
all
terrible.
they can do are breakdance.
So, and then Justice Crew, after that disappointing exit, released the song independently, So Long. Now, this just shows the gaping chasm between the Australian and American entertainment industries. In Australia, these guys won, Australia's Got Talent and were able to somehow sustain a career for a period of time. Where in America, they just looked at this and went, yeah, no one gives a flying fuck about dance posses. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
So it
or
couldn't get
we've
past
got
the rounds.
12 million people who can do this exact thing.
Yeah,
You need to
in
bring
America, they're just
something
like,
else to the party
It's just
other
like,
than
there's
that.
fucking children that do this on a daily basis. So,
Yeah.
look, one positive, though, they haven't released any music since 2019, and that single, as you may recall, was titled So Long. So I hope that's an indication they're leaving the music industry forever.
Perhaps. You might also notice that Que Sera is, the name of another
It
song by
is, yeah.
the most famous band in the world. So, I'm
Which
not
they
sure.
kind of reference a bit in this song, so it's kind of like...
Anyway, all right. Shall we? You got
Lyrics?
anything else to say?
No,
Lyrics?
fuck no.
This is credited to half the band, the two producers, another producer called Nick Martin, who's worked with the greats of Oz hip hop like Blitz and Esso and 360, and Canadian songwriter Adam Messenger, who may have actually written the entire song. Who can tell, Ben? Who knows?
I don't know.
Like the question of what justice the Justice Crew are fighting for.
What are they fighting
It's one
for?
of life's great mysteries. It might explain just possibly why the fuck a 6-member mixed race hip hop breakdance collective from a reality TV show are singing something that sounds even less like hip hop than fucking Ed Sheeran's last song. A bit more like, you might say, the kind of folk pop bollocks that a Canadian singer-songwriter might plop out before it was fed through 2 different electronic production factories, which is kind of what you get here, which also might explain the textual abyss between their last number one, which had lyrics like, "Girl, you so fly, you could be a 10-pack of Wicked Wings from Bankstown KFC, now climb on my dick,"
Yeah.
and this one, which sounds like, "At the end of the day, some you win, some you don't. So I'm glad that I'm here with some friends that I know, always there with a smile, saying you're not alone, singing la 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 la, Que Sera."
Yeah, that's...
I mean, it's not exactly hip-hop, is it?
No.
Or anything,
But it's-
really.
it's not
You
exactly-
might say it's not exactly fucking anything.
Can you imagine...
9 weeks.
Can you
man.
imagine
9
writing?
weeks.
Can you imagine writing those lyrics down and then going, "Yeah,
That's a keeper.
they're good enough. They're good enough."
Yeah.
But then again, they are a b-boy posse, so maybe
Yeah.
that is good enough.
Sure. All
Look,
right.
470,000 listeners, which is way too many, but at least it's under 1 million, which shows that
Yeah.
people are jumping off the Justice Crew bandwagon.
It's true. It's a lot for Australia, though. That's a decent.
And
lot
look,
for
this will
Australia.
cost you $5.25, Tom. And if you think that's too much, let me just, I'll put you at ease, because the B-side is the highly sought-after karaoke mix of this song.
Oh,
So
good.
you're getting that on
Didn't
track
have
number
any
2.
unreleased gold that they wanted to put in there as
No,
well.
no.
Collaboration with Joel Turner and the Modern Day Poets, perhaps.
You can get that CD single and you can sing along at home, Tom, with the karaoke
Sure,
mix.
sure,
And
alright.
because they're a b-boy posse, any untrained person who's unable to sing at all is probably equally as good as these guys. So it's all right.
For the love of Christ, can we please move on to the next song?
Got some actual music now, Tom. 14th of June for 2 weeks. We Are Done by the Madden Brothers.
Don't threaten me with a fucking good time. Now, Ben, like a lot of people, I was under the impression that Good Charlotte were the Madden Brothers, but it turns out there were some things that the other members of Good Charlotte wouldn't sign off on.
Absolutely.
This being one of them.
Look, I wasn't aware that there was any quality control in the Good Charlotte camp, but as you said, it turns out that there are places the other members of Good Charlotte are unwilling to go
Yeah.
and unwilling to put their name to.
Look, this is definitely not what you'd expect from two guys from a punk band.
No. Even
it's-
punk in its loosest definition.
Yeah, I mean, they were more punk than fucking 5 Seconds
Oh.
of Summer, but yeah, I know what
Yep.
you mean. They're definitely pop punk.
Yep.
This is neither punk nor some desperate Fred Durst style behind blue eyes emo bullshit. In parts, this sounds quite a lot like Let the Sun Shine In from the 60s musical Hair, in fact.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a total 60s vibe to the whole thing, and several note progressions and harmonies and the whistling in the chorus. What do you reckon?
Look, if you're after something that sounds like it was released in the 60s, then this is going to be right up your alley. And also, this pains me to say, Tom, it really pains me to say, but credit where credit is due, this doesn't sound like anything else that we've covered almost on the whole podcast.
No.
So, are they mining the past? Yes, but they're doing something that's not super popular.
It's like,
so
I could tell you would
I'll give him credit for it popping out and being like, oh, I haven't heard anything that sounds like this. And look, to be fair, Bruno Mars has based his entire career on mining the past.
True,
so it's not as if people aren't doing it. So
his trick is that you move on. You move from a different time zone to another one before people can peg you as that guy who only does that one era. Yeah.
I was actually, when I saw the Madden Brothers, I was surprised at how little I hated this.
Yeah, I know.
That makes sense.
This reminded me.
I'm not playing it in my own spare time, but I did sort of go, okay, yeah, it does have a very 60s-ish sort of radio kind of chorus, and there's some harmonies in there that's sort of kind of catchy. So yeah,
it reminded me a bit of that. I could tell you were dubious at the time, but that there was a Guy Sebastian song which I compared to the fucking Austin Powers theme song, which again, even if you don't like it, you have to admit that it doesn't sound like any other thing that we'd had to. That you know, so it's like, well, this is more interesting than it could have been. I'd rather listen to this than some tedious 5 Seconds of Summer pop shit, you know, from some Avril Lavigne knockoff stuff. Yeah.
Is it? It's a pretty dire situation where something from the Madden Brothers is the best or one of the better songs of the year, isn't it? Jesus Christ.
I know. I don't hate this either. I think I don't like the Madden Brothers much, but unlike Ed Sheeran's song, I think the sort of cool 60s production on this saves it from being a disaster.
Agreed.
If this was a one-off hit by a Belgian duo called the Spongo Twins, I would say it was like a harmless retro one-hit wonder type of a deal. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, the unexpected listenability of this probably has something to do with, you guessed it, the fact that, again, it was written by someone else, e.g. the producer Eric Valentine, who also polished up 5 Seconds of Summer earlier this year and has worked with Queens of the Stone Age, Weezer, Death from Above, Dwarves, Joe Satriani, and also Good Charlotte, Smash Mouth, Maroon 5, and the Madden Brothers. So, yeah, he's definitely a more of a tradesman than a musical genius, but he managed to polish this one until you could see your face in it, so, you know.
Yeah, look, so here you go, Tom. When people ask about what this song's about...
Sure. I mean, as happens to me in the street on a more or less daily basis.
I'm often asked, you know, I think it's best to go to the source, isn't it?
Yes.
Talk about what's going on. So, look, this is what one of the Madden Brothers had to say. What's been happening a lot on social media is kids have been holding signs saying what they're done with. And that's kind of what the whole song's about. Being done with something. Standing up for yourself and then moving on from something. So look, I think that's sort of, you know, a good point about looking at something that you sort of say, hey, look, I disagree with this, I'm done with this, I'm giving up on that, I'm moving on to something else. And I think for Joel Madden, as one of the Madden brothers, I think that what means for him that he's moving on from, I believe, is being a pedophile, Tom, because you may recall in 2004, 25-year-old Joel Madden was dating 16-year-old Hilary Duff.
Wow.
Now,
I did not know that.
Strictly speaking, I don't think that's legal.
No,
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's not in America. I mean, unless you're from the South.
So, Joel, as he said, the quote, it's being done with something, standing up for yourself and moving on from something. So he's moving on from banging teenagers. He's moving on from that, and he's banging adults, so as we can tell, because he's currently married to Nicole Richie, who I believe is an adult. And we speculated in a previous episode, Tom, that he had sexual healing on his boning playlist, which we assume freaked Nicole out as her dad sings it. But look, that's okay. So the other Madden brother, Benji's married to Cameron Diaz and was engaged to, former Bardo member and friend of the podcast, Sophie Monk. So you'd have to say that
she
both...
can't have been super old when he met her either, frankly.
No, definitely. But I would dare say that both Madden brothers are fucking out of their league.
Oh, absolutely. It kind of makes you wonder. I mean, they've both presumably got money, but either there's a lot of women in Hollywood with questionable taste in music, or they've got some other capabilities that beyond their obvious musical talent or physical appearance.
Yeah, look.
But hey, maybe they just love those dangerous punk guys who got every single thing about their looks, sound, and appearance from 30-year-old music videos of the Rolling Stones and fucking Keith Richards and shit.
Do you think that if someone's 25 and they're dating a 16-year-old, does someone need to intervene, even if they are a celebrity, and say, I don't think...
It's an amazing
should be doing
country
this.
in America,
It
isn't
is,
it? You
yeah.
can 16, you can be getting legally banged by someone 9 years older than you, but you've still got 5 years to go before you're allowed to have beer.
Yeah, exactly right. So I guess, when Joel's like, oh, let's go to Idaho for a holiday. Oh, why there? Oh, because of the age of consent is low. So it's
Yes,
good to
but when we go there, could you possibly hide in the trunk? Because if we
Until
drive
we get
across
over the border.
state lines, that means I'm technically a sex trafficker.
Yeah, exactly. So, look,
And
anyway.
I'm not an American congressman, so I can't just idly get away with doing that.
Yeah, so I mean, I was giving Scott Kane shit before about writing that I've got a crush on Hillary
Yeah,
Duff
at least he
song.
wasn't actually
No,
banging her.
exactly
As
right.
far as we know, they did tour together. Who knows?
Now, Joel... So one thing about Joel and Benji is that Good Charlotte...
Good thing he didn't release that song. I actually got to root Hillary Duff as a follow-up. That probably would have, caused some trouble.
Particularly given the age difference. But look, Good Charlotte, they were particularly popular in Australia, Tom. So,
Really?
yes, they were. Madden has since labelled the country, quote, his home away from home. Now, you think a Red Foo-style glassing might make him rethink that? Because if he would, I'm pretty sure we can get someone on Airtasker to throw a glass at him for $20 maybe. So
Yeah, I mean...
I don't need him around here, just in case. I don't want to run into him on the street accidentally. and be like, oh,
no.
fuck.
Well, fortunately, we're a long way from Sydney, which
We
is
are,
where
yeah.
these people seem to hang around
Yeah, they do,
and
definitely.
or wait to get glassed on Manly Beach. But
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Proper musicians live in Melbourne, and like fake shitty musicians live in Sydney. I think that's sort of how it goes.
It is weird and occasionally depressing what Australia decides to throw its musical weight behind. Like, on the one hand, we've helped legit amazing artists like ABBA become world famous sensations, and on the other hand, we've got fucking Red Foo,
Exactly.
dancing on the beach with Red Foo doing gay panic CPR jokes and Benny Hill sketches.
Imagine, I mean, you and I, our hip hop duo is, still in its infancy, but imagine it gets to sort of being of a quality that, Tom, if you're rejected by your own country, but, we're big in, say, Estonia, would you just be like, let's fucking move to Tallinn, bro. Let's just go there and just live the dream.
I
Would you
mean,
do it?
don't tell me that you wouldn't end up having a special affection for Tallinn.
Oh,
Yeah. What was that? It was like Bulgaria or something who wanted to erect a solid copper statue in the shape of Samantha Fox, I think, 26 years after her last official
I stand
hit
by that.
had been done. Yeah, I mean, don't tell me she doesn't tour there every year.
And look,
I
I'm
mean,
not shitting on Tallinn. I've been to Tallinn. I love Tallinn.
Yeah, my brother
Everything
loved
about
it too. He thought it was
Tallinn's
great.
But I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, no,
of
I
sort
hear
of
you.
like
I hear
like the Madden Brothers. But the thing about the Madden Brothers is it's kind of like, or Red Foo even, people have grown weary of me in America, but people love me in Australia. I can
Yeah.
move to Australia and live there and hang out a bit and be on some shitty idol show, and that's great. So, look, I'd be prepared to relocate to another country
Yes.
if people were like, you can be, you can make money just going on a show going, oh, yeah, that's fucking great.
Yeah.
Keep juggling that chainsaw. So, I don't know.
I think I don't find it as annoying when people do that just because one place has a different taste standard than somewhere else.
Yep.
The Americans used to give shit to the French for finding Jerry Lewis funny when they found him a bit childish and immature. After he'd been massively, massively successful there, it was just that the people who used to watch him when they were kids grew up and found him slightly embarrassing the same way some people think Jim Carrey's kind of vaguely embarrassing now, or Robin Williams, Valet this year. But, yeah, my point is that I find the thing with musicians a lot more acceptable than, or a lot less sellouty than when it's somebody who's cashing in on the fact that they're from somewhere else. Somewhere like stand-up comedians, we used to get a lot of Americans in Australia who simply were not good enough to be on TV in America.
No.
And all of their material was about being American and the differences between America and Australia, and you think you're really pushing shit uphill here. I mean, I get why you're doing it because, you need a paycheck, but this, it's just fucking embarrassing. Like,
I come out here, I don't even know what's up with that Aussie rules football.
The guy said no problem, but I was having a problem.
Yeah.
That sort of shit. Like, if you're just doing your normal stuff, your American gear, and Australians like you, but Americans don't like you, then, I sort of get it. You're like, okay, well, fuck it, I might as well live here and make cash. Like Arj Barker or something. But, there's there were a lot of other guys, especially in the 90s, apparently. Yeah, there were some British guys who I won't name that were particularly fucking irritating, but yeah. Fortunately, I seem to have forgotten their exact names, but yeah.
Lyrical highlights, Tom. What do we got?
Sorry,
What do we got?
starting to
The
get
Madden
annoyed.
brothers, they've always been about the lyrics. I
They
find,
have,
Tom, so, yeah.
yes. They've got brass knuckles hanging from the neck and their chain. I don't really know why they need two pairs of brass knuckles. I suppose you've got two hands.
One of them's got a full...
How you put the other set of brass knuckles on when you put the first set on,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
not
quite
easy.
sure.
One of them has a full skull tattoo these days as well, which is cool. So
Sure, maybe
pretty
it's
sick,
a
yeah.
picture of the lyrics from this song.
I hope so.
As with my preconceptions of the sound from the Dorks in the title, lyrically you'd expect this to be a sort of hard-nosed breakup song,
Yep.
Given the title of, We Are Done. But again, it seems to be more of a vague sort of 60s style protest thing, as they sort of alluded to in that quote.
Yep.
You first brought the sun for everyone here to see. Why does it always change to guns and chains eventually? Done with being a silent many, every voice rings out and carries. No, we won't just go back home without you hearing the sound when the many say we are done. So yeah, it's really kind of a not especially catchy and impossible to chant protest anthem sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
22,000 listeners for the Madden Brothers.
I guess that's because they probably did fuck all as the
They did
Madden
fuck all,
Brothers.
yeah, exactly.
I wonder
Good,
what
Good
Good
Charlotte has 5 million. So there you go.
Even then, that's less than I would have thought for guys who consistently punch above their weight.
Sure, absolutely. In the
I think Cameron Diaz has got 5 million listeners on Spotify, and she doesn't even do any music that I know of.
Exactly. For sure. So look, good on the Madden Brothers for doing something that I didn't expect.
Yeah, take
So
a
good
left
on
turn,
them.
sure.
This
Why
will cost
not?
you $2.68. Look, to be honest, it's a lot better. So Madden Brothers is an offshoot of Good Charlotte. The results were a lot better than when Red Foo left LMFAO, but that's faint praise, really, isn't it, Tom? So look, moving on, running up to July. How the fuck has this happened? 28th of July for 2 weeks. Only Love Can Hurt Like This by Paloma Faith.
Yes.
Now, is Paloma, is that a real name? I thought they'd spelt Pamela wrong. Have you heard of someone called Paloma before?
I've heard the word before, but I don't know what it means.
No.
I thought it was a type
Is it a
of horse.
fake? Is it a
but
fake
I'm
name?
thinking-
Is it
Look,
like a stage name?
I don't know, dude.
Anyway.
I didn't
What-
get to that point.
No. I was just confused about the name. I was like, what? Anyway, but tell me about this.
Oh, if you can find it, let me know. Look, people really missed Amy Winehouse in the UK, didn't they?
Damn straight.
She'd gone at this point, R.I.P. I preferred Gabriella Chilmi. At least she was ripping off Amy when she was a teenager and they were both still alive. But this was, song-wise, this is another nugget from the Diane Warren Platinum Mine.
Yeah.
She's written, as we've mentioned, for everyone from Barbara Streisand to Disturbed. Has a 12-page long wiki discography, literally, and most of her songs are exactly what it says in the title. For some reason, I had assumed that Warren was African American, but she is in fact a white Jew.
No, she is. Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely not African American. She's a white lady that has just penned hit after hit after hit.
She's just got the brain for it.
Yeah.
She must have inherited that Tin Pan Alley just tune writing. Amazing. That's a bit of a Jewish stereotype, isn't it? But they at one point they were the world's Max Martins. For some reason, now they all live in Sweden. But at that point, they were.
I think you're right. Through different periods of history, there's been different. I guess people that have written all the hits.
What
and
the popular consciousness wants from music migrates around the
and
world
now
over
it's
time.
Sweden for whatever reason. So look, Tom, much like when a brutal dictator's toppled, creating a power vacuum filled by a regime often as bad, if not worse than that, disposed of. The death of Amy Winehouse created a soul revival vacuum, with numerous young women scrambling to fill the void, resulting in something much worse than that was there in the first place, I think. Can we agree with that?
We can. I mean, people were knocking her off while she was still around.
Yeah.
There were people like Duffy and Gabriella Chilmy and people who I'd forgotten even until we did this.
But once she was dead, people were sort of going, I got to get into that sort of territory. So look, don't forget that friend of the podcast, Lindsay Lohan, also had a song penned by Diane Warren. So
was that one of her major hits, Ben?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, one of her massive hits. So look, friend of the podcast, also Laura Branigan. As we know from one of my favourites, Self-Control, with that sort of creepy art school rape vibe video, but the song itself is a fucking banger.
She also did If I Could Turn Back Time.
So Laura Branigan's hit Solitaire. Solitaire was the very first song that was written by Diane Warren to be a hit. It wasn't a number one hit, but it was a top 10 hit in the US. So that's where she started. And look, she was nominated for an Oscar this year. So she's still going really, really strong.
It's kind of amazing. I don't know anyone else who's like that.
Yeah. Now, look, no wins for her for an Oscar. She's been nominated several times, but they gave her an honorary Oscar this year, which for my mind is bullshit. I mean, what happens if you compete in the Olympics and you get like 12 silver medals and just go, oh, fuck, you've been pretty consistent for a while, here's a gold medal? Like, an honorary Oscar's like, you've never won, but we're just giving you one.
Do you reckon it was a recognition of that thing we've discussed previously, as came up with Happy this year with Despicable Me 2, that I think the rules still stipulate that for a song to win, it has to have been written specifically for a film. Whereas I'm sure her songs would have featured in many films, but maybe she did not write them specifically for that. So maybe they were just like, well, look, you get a sort of, we'll give you a Lifetime Achievement Award, even though it's not quite in the rules.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe sort of they look back at it and go, fuck, maybe in 1987 we shouldn't have given the it to maybe that was
or that Stevie Wonder song that he clearly plagiarised from someone else.
Yeah,
which also invalidated him from being in the fucking rules, creating a catch-22 of bullshit that no one else seemed to have even noticed at the time.
Like going, you either plagiarised the song, or you were not eligible for this. So fucking crazy stuff.
Diane was in a relationship with songwriter and record producer Guy Roche, not Guy Ritchie, unfortunately, or he could have had Swept Away too.
Or Guy Pearce either.
That ended in 1992, and claims that she has not had another relationship since, commenting, I've never been in love like in my songs. I'm not like normal people. I'm no good at relationships. I draw drama to me. It's the Jew in me. Now, Warren prefers to write alone. Quote, when I write with other people, the experience is different. You have to compromise, which I have problems with. I'd rather listen to my own mind. She has also revealed that she works 12 to 16 hours a day, always takes her keyboard whenever she travels, and is more crazy and intense than I was at 20. Quote, Warren does not allow anyone into her Hollywood Hills office, which she describes as a cluttered, airless room, and says that nothing in her office has been cleaned or moved for 17 years because she is superstitious. She prefers to think of that room as her secret world. In that room, Warren records melodies with a tape recorder on which she plays them again and chooses the songs she likes most. Now, Ben, do you ever suspect that the key to creative success is just maintaining the mind state which you are trying to evoke, regardless of the realities of your actual life? Like, if you want to write songs for sexually frustrated 17-year-olds with a broken heart, you have to act like one and write the songs in a room you've refused to clean like one while sulking like one because of bullshit drama that you've created like one. I mean, even if it gives everyone else the shits and the song has the emotional maturity of an Evanescence fan.
Yeah, look, that's a really good point, I think, Tom. But
I'm not saying it works for everyone. I'm just saying it clearly works in her case.
Oh, definitely. The problem is, though, if you live in that manner for too long, then you will become that person. And then, you know, we'll get a whole career's worth of effervescence, Paul McCoy type, wake me up. It's like, what happened, Diane Warren? It's just like, I was living the character for too long. Like, sort of like... when Lady Gaga decided to play the role in that most recent film, was it House of Gucci or something? And she was in, she just decided to not break, role for like a year or whatever it was. Maybe did she ever wonder that maybe she'd never be able to break back, and that's just her forever now? So I don't know. So, but for Diane Warren, she's clearly able to snap in and out of these characters because she's been a hit factory for a long time.
Yeah. Look, whatever she's doing, it's definitely working.
Oh, no doubt.
Let's just say that I'm right, that this is the key to creative success. Let's
think you
call it method creativity,
Yep.
like method acting. Now, using this technique, how are you planning to write your next hit album with Art of Seduction?
Our next album will be a concept album about the Carrick Speedway, Tom. So I'll just be moving to Carrick, living at the Speedway, and then sort of embodying all of that. So probably to the detriment of my health, because I'll just be eating Dagwood dogs and undercooked chips, I think, for the next 18 months. But the proof will be in the pudding, I think.
Well, by that logic, you should sell a shitload of albums to motorsports fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who normally exist on those 17-pack best classic Aussie rock DVD boxes and CD cubes that you can still get at country service stations in the cardboard box by the door.
I think they are an underserviced demographic, though, Tom, the motorsport fan. So,
yes, I think you're right.
So you sort of you go to certain sporting events, and they're going to do the national anthem. That's okay. There might even be a song about that's sort of specific to football or specific to cricket or whatever. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know much about motorsport. But is there a song that's sort of just a pump and anthem that's just all about revving those engines and getting?
The 60s were the heyday of car songs.
Yep.
You had, Baby Can Drive My Car by the Beatles.
Start Me Up by the Stones.
Yeah, I think the Beach Boys wrote several equivalents of albums worth of songs about how cool cars were. But
what about Shannon Knowles' I've Got a Car, I've Got a Big Black Shiny Car? That's another classic car song.
Although he did get that from Bryan Adams, which means it was probably originally a song about his penis. So
yeah, exactly.
Because he's a closet freak.
Yeah.
Look, either way, I still like this songwriting technique better than the Black Eyed Peas A-B method, where you just copy shit and hope nobody sues you because your music is so terrible that they haven't heard it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look,
it's worked for them so far, don't get me wrong.
Will.i.am's A-B technique is, I do thoroughly enjoy that it's really just saying, I just listen to something and try and fucking change it just enough to avoid copyright.
The fact that he
claims,
even bothered to work up a thing about how it's a technique is, just, you'd think at that point you'd just be like, how about if I just don't mention it in interviews?
Yeah. Look, one interesting thing about this song, and possibly, the only interesting thing is that it's slightly out of tune. If you listen to it, it's not quite in tune.
See, I'm not good enough to notice this.
Yep.
Is that deliberate?
Well, I tried to dig deep on this to find out whether, that was deliberate or not, but no one seemed to know. But what happens is, obviously, so you record a song and the tempo, it might be a little bit too slow, so you try and speed that tempo up.
Yes.
So what they've done is I'd say they've tried to speed up or slow down the playback rate in the production bit, and apparently there's software, I don't know a lot about this, but there's software you can use that will speed or slow down a song that doesn't alter but they've obviously not done that. So
you reckon they've tweaked the tempo?
They've tweaked the tempo slightly, haven't used whatever software, so it meant that the pitch is slightly out. So, so that's something that I found interesting about this. Probably the only thing, because it does, as you said, it's just kind of like a Amy Winehouse knockoff, but about 5 years too late, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, if you wanted to be charitable, you could say it's a sort of timeless Diane Warren song that could have been covered by any singer in any way, and Paloma Faith, who, by the way, that is her real name, Paloma Faith Blomfield, that's her birth name, and that might only be the one. What I mean is, the song has been covered the way, she sings, which is to work in this Amy Winehouse type of way.
Yep.
And Yep. Supposedly, she had another hit in Australia with "Only Love Can Hurt Like This," which perhaps is coming later on. But yeah, anyway, I think that's about as exciting as it gets, as you mentioned. Lyrically,
tell me about these lyrics.
well, as we know, if Diane calls a song "Only Love Can Hurt Like This," you know it's not going to be about lack of access to postnatal facilities in the Gaza Strip. It's going to be about how only love can hurt like this.
Yep.
Written by a woman who, according to herself, has never experienced that emotion. Which is pretty weird when you look back through her stuff. The number of song titles she has with the word love in them is truly astonishing. I think it's one full page of her 12-page Wikipedia discography.
Yeah.
Only love can hurt like this, but it's the sweetest pain, burning hot through my veins. Love is torture, makes me more sure. Only love can hurt like this. I call bullshit, Diane, if that is your real name. I'm on to you now, you lyrically unimaginative 66-year-old teenager. Go and clean your room, or I'm taking away your fucking iPad. That's what I'm saying.
Now, the fact that she hasn't cleaned her office for 17 years because she's superstitious...
It's like when rugby players say, I've got this pair of underpants I shat at the Premiership in 2012 and I never take them off. It's like, I don't believe you. I think you just can't be
I shat myself in
underpants.
2012, but then we won that game, so I'm just going to wear these shattered underpants forever. So, Diane Warren sounds like an odd character, a slightly oddball.
She does,
but she pens the hits, so that's all.
Well, this is what I mean. Maybe she's more in the genius camp than the and then when you're in that camp, people will give you laissez-faire to do whatever you want. When you're a craftsman or a tradesman, they expect professionalism, but when you're a genius, they'd leave you alone in your fucking room as long as hits come out.
Now, Paloma Faith has 12 million listeners on Spotify.
It's a lot.
She must have fucking other bangers
She had hits in the UK. I think she just didn't trouble the Americans or the Australians.
So there you go. She's big overseas. Let's say that. And this will cost you $15.
Like you say, they like that soul sound.
They do love.
Sorry, how much?
Shit. $15. So there you go. It's getting back into the expensive stuff. So there you go. Anything else to say about Paloma?
No, please. Let's move on.
All right. 11th of August for 4 weeks. Oh, I'm all about that bass by Megan Trainor.
Debut single, first and only one to reach 1 billion views as a debut single.
Yeah, look, credit where credit's due. She co-wrote this, I believe.
I think so, yes.
1 billion YouTube views for your debut single is pretty impressive. But do you prefer this, Tom, or the Eurodance version by Power Music Workout?
Well, you know me, Ben. If there's Euro music, as long as it's actual Eurodance and not this modern day Eurodance.
It is legit Eurodance, and it's been remixed by someone that calls himself Power Music Workout.
Well, I'm glad that Power Music Workout are keeping the Eurodance dream alive before Beyonce could bring it back, as we've discussed. Speaking of Beyonce was presented this song to record, and she apparently considered it for a while, then went, nah, that's dumb.
Okay.
Then went, hang on though, a lot of my songs are pretty dumb now that I think of it. Then she got distracted and watched cat videos on YouTube for 23 minutes while eating a carrot. Some of this is conjecture, but some of it isn't. And the part that I am sure of is that she did not record it and Megan Trainor did. It's 2 questions though. One, was this the song that broke the camel's back and made white guys finally switch from breast men to arse men? And 2, if the bass in the song is arse, does that mean that treble is the cans?
Look, Tom, I think I'll take the second part first.
Sure.
Yes, treble is cans, clearly. And in response to the first part, I'm not sure that this song can claim responsibility for any shift in behaviour, cultural or otherwise.
No, maybe not. Although it was quite popular. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Look, the concept of low end in music being equated to someone's arse was already tackled by Spinal Tap in their song Big Bottom.
Oh, okay.
Which includes the timeless lyrics, "My baby fits me like a flesh tuxedo. I'd like to sink her with my pink torpedo." So that song is all about basically bass low end and being an arse.
Sure.
So Megan Trainor's just sort of
So if the treble's the cans, the bass is the arse. What's the sort of vaginal region?
It's difficult to say.
That's
so
the mid
mids, I guess.
Or is that the sort of stomach area?
I don't know. Look, this song is not necessarily for me, but obviously had a lot of streams, so good on her for that. And I will say that at least she's not rapping in this like the follow-up single Lips Are Moving, where she breaks out a couple of rap verses in that, which it's still got that same sort of like doo-woppy, fake sort of modern doo-wop sound like this does, but she's rapping in it, and it's fucking awful. So yeah.
What was her? Damn it! I should have checked that. She had another follow-up that got some play in Australia that was about guys hitting on you in.
I think that might be Lips Are Moving.
Oh, do you think so?
Yeah, it was. Your lips are moving, but I can't. Some bullshit.
Yeah, possibly.
So look, hard to say.
Yeah.
But look, this is another. If we're talking about the Madden brothers doing their throwback to sort of the '60s sound, this is another. People are loving throwbacks in 2014.
Yeah,
because this sounds like it sort of could have come out 50 years before.
Yeah, it does. It's a little bit like a little bit reminiscent of Christine Aguilera's brief, mystifying but rather enjoyable sort of swing. Swing kind of a period where she wore victory rolls and pretended it was World War II for some reason. I'm not complaining. Again, like sometimes the retro thing is less terrible than, doing whatever's currently popular.
No, absolutely.
As Megan would later go on to demonstrate in 2020 with her EDM influenced album Treat Myself.
Oh, good.
Or the follow-up with the album A Very Trainer Christmas.
Good. Look,
so neither of those, while climbing onto trends, were what you would call particularly good.
Look, they tried to sex Megan up in the first single off her second album. The single was called No, where she was wearing a fishnet bodysuit and pleather, with a song that sounded like a Destiny's Child sort of Britney Spears knockoff.
Yeah.
And look, I will say that didn't work at all.
I think that may be the one I'm thinking
So she
of,
probably, look, while she was mining the past here, as we said before, it's been working well for Bruno Mars. When they tried to give her a contemporary pop sort of sexy sort of thing, really didn't work. She should have just stuck with wearing her knitted stuff. I'm not saying this is because of any sort of attractive level. I'm just saying that sort of like
it's like Jessica Mauboy. Sometimes it just doesn't.
You
suit
don't want to
people.
sex up some pop stars. You just want them to do what they're doing.
And similarly, like you say, with the musical style, like if this is where you are feeling good, then don't write a fucking Christmas EDM album.
Exactly. So look, as we said, she's been sort of doing that sort of mining the past sort of thing. She had that song No, which was about sort of like people approaching her in the club.
That was
being
the
like,
one I was talking
hey,
about.
What's
my name is No, my sign is No, my number is No.
So people trying to hit on her, that sort of thing. And look, to be fair, I think at that period of time, maybe she was looking for love, but, getting it from all the wrong places or getting that unwanted attention. But not now, Tom, because she's married to actor Daryl Sabara, who you'd know very well, Tom, from his work in Spy Kids 3D Game Over.
I thought you were going to say Daryl Summers briefly.
You're a big Spy Kids 3D fan, I know that. So look, I'm not sure we need to go through the Meghan Trainor story.
Oh,
Tom,
no.
But she's been writing music since she was a kid, signed a publishing deal out of high school, sort of had some self-released stuff, wrote some songs for some other artists, including friend of the podcast, Jason Derulo, on his song Painkiller, which was not a cover of the Judas Priest song, unfortunately, as the cover is always better than the original. I think in Derulo's hands, those sort of Judas Priest songs could probably really shine, but I digress. Look, Megan wanted to put her own spin on the Jason Derulo's Jason Derulo intro. We've talked about this before, Tom, at the start of every single song he does that Jason Derulo. So what happened was Jason had this to say. Megan and her producer were in the room and were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do the Jason Derulo. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that no more. It's retired. Now, he obviously broke that retirement, much like Motley Crue's cessation of performance thing, because I'm pretty sure I heard Jason Derulo do the Jason Derulo shit on a song that came out this year. Anyway, Jason continues. And then the intro came in and she did it and I was like, it's pretty dope. Now, I'm not sure what constitutes dope for Jason, but in the song he says, M Train, and then she goes, Jason Derulo, and that's it. So it's pretty fucking
that's
shit.
pretty
but
dope.
that doesn't sound fucking dope at all. But anyway, like M Train is interesting because it either sounds like a professional sportsman's nickname, or someone you're about to get fucked by, or possibly both. The old M Train's coming at you. But I don't know why it's considered dope at all. So look, so that's the Meghan Trainor story. After writing songs for other artists, she penned this song, shopped it around, didn't get a lot of traction. Then the record label said, "You're the artist who should sing this." The 60s throwback action we've discussed, as you said, was unsustainable.
Yeah.
But, she's grown as an artist, Tom, and as you said, she went on to release that very Trainor Christmas album. And when you drop a Christmas album, your career's obviously on the upward trajectory.
Yeah.
We already know that. So, look, this spent 8 weeks at number 1 in the US. It was Epic's longest-running chart song ever, released on Epic Records, beating Michael Jackson's Billie Jean and Black or White. Now, is this better than Billie Jean or Black or White? Yes.
No. Nor
not.
is it better than Woodpecker from Mars, which I believe was also an epic release song. Or The Real Thing by Faith No More.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
Look, I guess outdone Michael Jackson, outdone Megan on the chart stuff. I guess we should be thankful Michael Jackson didn't release a song about arseholes that might have gone in a particularly dark direction.
Yeah,
but
he was not into bass at all. He was all treble. That guy.
He was all treble, all the mids, I think. So. But look, data from Google searches indicates that the booty made a comeback in 2014, Tom. So in that year, in all 50 states of America, more searches were made for ways to make your butt bigger than searches to make it smaller.
This is what I'm talking about. I'm not just being sexist. It was about this time that just all popular songs started being about asses, as opposed to just a lot of hip hop stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So
just,
a lot of so everyone's doing searches about wanting a big butt. That indicates that women were looking to get a big butt, and men were more interested in seeking it out.
and by women you mean white chicks.
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
is
So
what we're talking about. here.
and you've raised the question: is this song responsible? And I should note that look, perhaps it might be, but 2014 was also the year that Nicki Minaj reworked the seminal Sir Mix-a-Lot piece "Baby Got Back" for her
was
song
that
Anaconda.
this year? Yeah.
So dare I say that track probably had more to do with the Google search results for butts than say Meghan Trainor, but I could be wrong.
She had arse-related stuff before that too. Certainly,
Nicki Minaj has had an entire career
drew a
based
big
on that.
arse-shaped line underneath it.
Yeah, so this was the first single to enter the UK top 40 based entirely on streams. So we're officially into the streaming era now, Tom. So the track entered the charts at number 33 a week before it was available for digital download or physical sale.
Okay.
So there you go. So we're at that period now. We've talked about the difference between the various mediums we've had. So starting now about 2014, streaming's in. So we're going to start getting number 1 songs from now on where there's no physical sales, no digital downloads, or at least a combination of those things. So there you go. Talk to me about these lyrics.
Sure. Why not?
It's all about the bass. No treble,
is,
I believe. So
this was written by Megan and the producer Kevin Kaddish, who you might know from his work with Christian pop punk band Skillet, Keith Urban, or Meghan Trainor.
all of those.
When she met him, quote, "I was extremely nervous and excited because I have always been a fan of his songwriting." Pause. "I wanted to impress him. We immediately started bonding. We realised we loved the same music, the same oldies, and we both grew up as chubby kids. He had the title All Bass, No Treble, and we tried to compare it to something, so we decided bass would be thickness, and that we were, quote, all about it." So yeah, I'm assuming that they also decided that treble was tits, but she didn't want to put that in there.
Yeah.
So really, once you've accepted that bass equals arse, then you've cracked the code, except there's no code because it's completely explicit in the song, like something by Jason Derulo, for instance. Yeah, it's pretty clear I ain't no size 2, but I can shake it like I'm supposed to do, because I got that boom boom that all the boys chase and all the right junk in all the right places. I see the magazines working that Photoshop. We know that shit ain't real. Come on now, make it stop. If you got beauty, just raise them up, because every inch of you is perfect from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, call me crazy, Ben, but some days I think Americans might be happier if they could find some sort of middle ground between every possible part of you is flawed because God says so, and every possible part of you is flawless because God says so.
I'd say so, yeah.
Heck, there might be some common denominator to the problem, but, I can't guess what it is.
It's hard to say what it is. I'm not really sure. It's probably that liquid cheese I was talking about earlier.
I
People
reckon.
consuming too much of that, and the cardboard. Their disdain for cardboard monsters, I think, Tom. But yeah, who knows what it is in America? But yeah, you're right. They sort of seem to be like,
It doesn't seem to be a lot of middle ground.
No, everything's terrible. Everything's fantastic.
Or you're all perfect and holy children of God, and 100% of you is flawless, Ben. As we've discussed, 100% of no one is flawless.
Yeah.
I mean, as you pointed out, even Jesus, would sometimes sneak out of the back doors of pubs without paying for his share of the olives.
Oh, absolutely right.
And was constantly banging prostitutes. I think we also covered that.
We did, yeah, for sure. Jesus loved snatch, high quality snatch. So.
And low quality snatches.
Exactly.
He wasn't too fussy. All right.
I think you're right though. Yeah, the sort of that the flawlessness or flaws because of the God's plan. Look, I think when anyone says the phrase, and it doesn't seem to happen much in Australia, but in America, when anyone says
no
it's
one
God's
would say this in
plan, or
Australia.
it's like,
No.
That's just God. My family died in a horrific car. That's just God's plan. It's just like,
yes.
I don't know, man. Maybe you should start thinking about ignoring that because that just sounds fucking the most stupid shit I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, writing a love song where you say every inch of you is perfect to your partner.
Yeah.
We can get that that's a metaphor because you're talking about someone that you love. So you're saying, through my eyes, every inch of you is perfect. It's poetic license.
Yeah.
But these Lady Gaga songs that we've covered earlier from her empowerment period and that sort of thing, where they also say, you're perfect, you're wonderful how you are, you're perfect exactly how you are, that sort of thing. I'm not sure if that's a completely helpful... I mean, it's in a basic sort of self-esteem thing to tell 14-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
But even then, from a very young age, you're instilling people with the lesson that you should never have to work on any aspect of your personality. And people, if they don't like you, they can just fuck off,
Well, it's God's plan, Tom, to sort of to be a boring cunt, basically. That's all part
As
of his
Will
plan.
Smith once said, it's never great when a woman says, I need a man who can handle me. It's like, you're a grown-ass woman, handle your damn self.
That's true.
That's how I feel.
He's always been a wealth of knowledge as well.
He has, And as recent events demonstrated, he's obviously very psychologically stable and everything he's doing is working out fine.
Indeed. So Megan has 15.9 mil on the Spotify, so good on her for that. And this is going to cost you $4.35. Anything else to say about the M Train?
No,
Tom.
No, she should have kept the M Train too. That's way better than Megan Train.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of our M people, who are probably some of the finest artists that have ever worked.
Sure.
I think. So yes, Tom. Up next, September, 3 weeks. Taylor Swift, Shake It Off.
She's back again.
She is back
with another big hit.
Absolutely.
First single from her album 1989. Stayed on the Billboard charts for 50 consecutive weeks, nearly a full goddamn year, and sold 5.4 million in the USA. Like most of 1989, this was written by her, Max Martin, and Heroes in a Half Shell back again. Two of the most lauded pop producers on the planet at this point, which does make you occasionally wonder what a song must have been like before they got hold of it, if this is the end result. But, this is definitely something that people were into. You cannot argue with results in that one.
Absolutely. Look, I know this might be an unpopular opinion, Tom, but I actually quite enjoy Taylor Swift's unique take on country music, Tom.
Sure.
When I listen to this, I know I'm listening to country music. I know that because she's a country artist, but she puts a fresh coat of paint on it to the point that I feel like, I say to myself, yeah, it's country, but it almost sounds like I'm listening to pure pop music, and that's not an easy thing to do, is it? To sort of present country in a new way that still maintains its complete integrity, but gives it a sort of pop sheen. So credit where credit's due.
Yeah, people do use the word crossover in interesting ways. Sometimes they use crossover the way you know, a bridge might cross over between two places, thereby connecting them into a single single geographical location. Other times they use it the way one might cross over a puddle, e.g. as quickly as possible to get from one thing to another thing that's much nicer than the first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is I know what you mean. This doesn't even have the obligatory violin in it at this point.
No,
it's
it doesn't.
This is 100%.
This is Max Martin's algorithm and Shellback cranking this out.
Like a lot of King of Pop, Michael Jackson's late period output, this seems to be one of Taylor's many, many songs about how the media are judging her and creating a false impression of her personality. An artist who's been in the public eye since childhood, desperately clinging on to some semblance of who she thinks she really is underneath it all, with less kiddie fiddling.
Yeah, of course.
The fixation on how she's perceived and the gap between her self-image and the public's version of her image is about as interesting as it usually is when it starts to infect everything an artist does, e.g. not very. At best, it means they need a holiday. At worst, it means that I'm about to start doing rails of fentanyl for breakfast and writing songs about how Jews control the music industry with coronavirus nanobots.
Yeah, look, completely. Look, I don't really know, Tom. Does she get, or has she ever received, overly negative coverage from the press? Is it? I know she tends to, I think her music is pretty well received, and is her complaint more about the fact that she has, she's perceived to have a string of short-lived relationships, and the media are more focused on her relationship aspect than what the music is. So she's like, the media is sort of hounding me. But when the content of your music is exclusively failed relationships, then you have to expect that that's going to come up at some time when the media are presenting information about it.
That's right.
So, I don't know. Look, I've not looked too deeply into the lyrics on this, but is it about shaking Jake Gyllenhaal's cum off her body? Is that what she's shaking off? I assume it is. I don't know.
Good Lord. Well, now I've got that image to shake off in my head. I think I need to listen to this song a few more times.
But Jake's just sort of...
I mean, does this song work on you, Ben? Does it make you feel like shaking it off?
Jake Gyllenhaal's not so much about that, but absolutely. I'm just shaking off all the problems in my life.
The haters.
The hater's going to hate. I'm just exactly right. And that's the thing, Tom. I mean, a lot of the rappers talk about the haters, but what about just people in their, me personally, I'm always dealing with the haters, just fucking constantly. So, I'm always shaking it off.
I kind of get what you mean. I tend to look at things through a slightly older person's lens of public's perception as being more of a slower geological time perception of the way an artist is perceived. And as you say, by that standards, Taylor Swift has never been out of the public eye in her entire career. She's never been thought of unfavourably, really, and none of her albums have been a flop, really. Yep. So you might well say, what the fuck is she complaining about? She doesn't even have some weird thing attached to her like Jennifer Aniston, where everybody always thinks that you're being permanently cuckolded by someone else or some weird shit like that, or your boyfriend always cheats on you or something. All that really happens is that occasionally people say mean things about her on social media, which really just suggests that she should do what Beyonce does and get the fuck off social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Or pay one of your vast army of employees to do your social media for you, so you don't ever have to really give a shit what people think about your latest relationship or not. But, I mean, I have seen it in my life before with artists where they start off not giving a fuck about what people think of them. Then they start off in interviews talking about, it's funny about the stuff you read in the tabloids about yourself. And then 5 years later, that's all they think about. And then, I mean, that's what I thought Prince was doing when he started doing his weird name and stuff at the time. I didn't realise that was the record company thing. I thought, he's just lost his mind. Yeah. And he thinks that he's obsessed with what the fans think of him and shit. But
Exactly, yeah. No, completely agreed. Look, what about the video for this? This is a very... I mean, the song is catchy. I think it's a very, very catchy
You'd be
song.
foolish to argue that it's not, but yeah.
And the music video, I think... Did it reach iconic status?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know about that.
I had to remind myself of what it looked like.
Yeah.
It kind of, if you've forgotten it or you're mixing it up with these other videos, it's the one where she's she's dressed up in a variety of different outfits, sort of
Yep.
Gwen Stefani style. And at one point, she's like going through the legs of a bunch of hip hop dancers who were sort of twerking. And I suppose the idea is that she's sort of going, where do I fit in? I'm such a weird outsider, like...
Who made this? Was this made by someone that we have talked about before?
The video was directed by Mark Romanek, the 90s legend responsible for videos such as Closer, Are You Gonna Go My Way?
Yeah. We've talked about this guy before.
Yeah, Free Your Mind, 99 Problems, Cochise by Audioslave, the Johnny Cash cover of Hurt, that cool black and white one. And I know your personal favourite, the Michael Janet Jackson song Scream, where they finally go into space and swap bodies, with the technology that allowed him to keep living after he died of an overdose.
I think in hindsight, Scream is less a music video and more an experimental medical procedure I think you're right, Tom, to see if two people can live in one body, as we know that Michael continues to live in Janet's body. The only question is if Janet is also in that body, and I know that Phil Collins raised this issue, in his song Two Hearts Living in Just One Mind.
True.
But that song was released in 1998 before we had the technology to fully explore whether we could get sort of two people in one body. Kind of like virtual reality, it looked shit in 1992, didn't it? Because we didn't have the technology.
True.
But recent metaverse pictures from Zuckerberg have really made leaps and bounds in that field, haven't we? So, which is
their stock has lost 50% of its value since that happened. Yeah, sorry. I should stop laughing about the metaverse at this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who knows? It might be the next big thing, and
could be.
stupid.
Could be.
That was a point where I thought coronavirus was all talk and no mustard. But, yeah. Okay. Look, as you say, musically it's pretty simplistic. There's a farty trumpet in the background that sort of parps along rhythmically the whole song, pointing out that it's all fairly repetitive and silly. I suppose you're working with a fairly sort of basic song, but
look, definitely they've got
it's catchy,
you've
but
got
it's
the
not.
Max Martin.
It's not elaborate, is what I mean. Yeah.
Look, I don't know. Is it fair to say this is catchier than one of the several STDs Taylor Swift allegedly contracted from? I don't know. That's not what I'm saying, Tom.
That's not what you're saying.
What
that's
the
tabloids
are saying.
That's right. Yeah.
Look, I probably heard this 1.2 million times on its initial release, and I listened to it again for the podcast, obviously, and watched the video, and I wasn't completely annoyed by it, which I think shows that, it's still got some sort of staying power. I didn't immediately listen to it and go, oh, fucking hell, not this again. It does at times sound a little bit like Hey Mickey. There's a bit of a sort of clapping sort of bit. And look, I think Taylor, I don't know, she might have had to have fought a lawsuit on this one. She seems to... have to fight a lawsuit on almost every song. Well, not every song, but a lot of them. I know that she got sued for this, because not for the musical component, but for the lyrics, player's going to play and hater's going to hate, from a 2001 song. But that's surely just an expression that's in popular culture.
Oh, for fuck's sake, yeah.
So the dudes from 2001 saying, we put it in a song, it's just like, I guarantee you, people have been saying, player's going to play, hater's going to hate, for decades. So the fact that you're trying to sue Taylor for that is just a cash in.
It's a bit depressing. We alluded to it before, but since that fucking Robin Thicke song opened the gateway to interpolation, meaning a thing that sounds a bit like another thing being worth umpty $1 trillion from a lawsuit, then the biggest artists, now just have to regularly put up with people trying to just chip off, money from their estates.
Horribly annoying.
Even just or settling out of court so people will go away and leave you alone, and that the same way that movie studios get hassled by people constantly saying that their ideas were stolen from them because somebody saw it written on a napkin in 1982 or whatever.
Yeah.
But just because it's the biggest, most obvious thing. But
So talk me through. What do the lyrics deal with? What Taylor is actually what she's shaking off? Do we get into that point, or we don't know?
Well, I mean, sort of. Like, what Taylor is good at is making lyrics that sound just sort of personal enough to have her fans wondering what part of her life she's talking about,
Yep.
relationship-wise in particular, but also very generic so that anyone can sing them in the shower when they're thinking about an experience that sort of jibes vaguely with the general thrust of the chorus, e.g. in this case, shaking off a bad mood, shaking off haters, or shaking off water from your body after you exit the shower and realise you left the only clean towel on the fucking clothesline again, which happens to me about 4 times a week. Hey, 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 just think, while you've been getting down and out about the liars and the dirty, dirty cheats of the world, you could have been getting down to this sick beat. My ex-man brought his new girlfriend. This is getting dangerously close to Ed Sheeran's rap territory. She's like, oh my God, but I'm just going to shake. And to the fella over there with the hella good hair, won't you come on over, baby?
Yeah.
What she's not so good at is using the jargon she heard on Black Twitter in her lyrics.
Yeah.
Her genetics are aggressively Caucasian, and she should just accept it and get on with being incredibly rich and white, like Gwen Stefani ended up doing. Like Elon Musk, somebody needs to tell these people that one thing you simply can't buy is being cool, and trying to do it just makes you look thirsty and lame. Like, I'm as cool as a nuclear reactor wearing a fedora, and even I know
that. The lyrics, that I forgot about the rap, the sick beat bit. That's fantastic. Yep.
She does it several times.
Yeah.
She'll just, I think there's one song where a new album, first single off a new album opens with her like going like, "I'm back on this bullshit." You know,
I'm back on this
oh, thanks,
bullshit.
fucking Dr. Dre. This is why I come to a Taylor Swift song.
Some motherfuckers thought I quit the game, but I'm back on this bullshit. I'm like,
Show them how we do it, G. Yeah, I mean,
good. Look, 58 million. In any normal world, Taylor Swift would be the biggest Spotify artist going, but Ed trumps her by 20 million, which seems completely insane.
For all the bad things I may have said about Taylor in the past, like seriously, I'd take her over Ed Sheeran any day of the week.
And this will cost you $33, Tom. So,
wow,
in these recessionary times, seems like a poor investment, I dare say. So, but even then, I mean, it's sort of like that's probably what. A hamburger and a coffee in Melbourne these days, so it's sort of maybe just take a day off lunch and pick this up. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure. So, anything else to say about this one?
No, please. What
All
have
right,
we got
29 September for 3 weeks. They're back. You Ruined Me by the Veronicas.
Wow. I thought we'd seen the last of them.
I hope not.
Rugby league. Grand final mid-game performances.
Yeah, and OnlyFans, Tom, probably.
Quite possibly. Yeah, debut single from their third album. This is their first one since going independent after getting out of their Warner contract when Warner wouldn't let them release their last album.
Oh, shit.
Here is a lesson for aspiring artists out there. If you've just fought your way out of a shitty contract and are trying to re-energise your grassroots fan base with a kick-ass single, don't do a sort of funeral dirge and get it produced by DNA Songs, the pop music equivalent of an unhealthy large intestine squirting out intermittent runny blasts of 1 week shit for reality TV stars you've already forgotten while actually looking at them, which is what they do. That's the only thing we've done that's been by them has been that.
Look, Tom, I've never worked in the music industry. I don't proclaim to be, any sort of musical manager, PR agent, sort of giving any advice, whether in the studio or out of the studio, general career-wise, marketing, distribution, any of those things. I don't know about those things. But, Tom, I feel like teaming up with DNA Songs is the worst possible thing that an artist could do at any time of their career.
It's bizarre. It's like voluntarily enlisting the people who make the songs that get made by people who couldn't make it in the actual musical industry when you could make it after you've just got out of a contract with a crappy corporate entity, and you're trying to reassert yourself as this kind of independent. They should have got the people who did bloody Geronimo to help him
Yeah.
out with a, I don't know.
It's like
On the other
spending-
hand, it went triple platinum in Australia and got to number 8 on the UK singles chart, so ignore everything I said, because clearly I don't know what I'm fucking talking
Yeah,
about.
look, I think it's kind of like if you spent several years in jail for a crime and then you were shown to be wrongly convicted and you were released from prison and you were walking down the stairs and then on your descent from prison you punched a baby in the face. I think that's sort of like that's probably the equivalent of that. You've got a bit. Everyone's like, oh, maybe they're not so bad. Then it's like, oh, actually, this guy's fucking terrible. So look,
Yeah, or on your first day out of prison, instead of going to Centrelink for some job seeker advice, you went round the corner to Davo the Stab Master and asked if he had any murders that
yeah,
you could do.
exactly right. So look,
Anyway.
people are, and by people I mean the general public, and not not people listening to this podcast are obviously more discerning. But the general public, they're fucking idiots, aren't they? To send this to number 1 for 3 weeks
The
because
appeal is pretty hard to imagine.
this
isn't it?
is about as boring as it gets, I
It's
think.
so dull, yeah. I mean, it's a slow, moany piano ballad with a 5-minute long Black Swan inspired video that lacks the dancing or lesbian makeouts.
Yep.
Which is weird because normally the Veronicas are definitely selling that, or at least the suggestion that it might happen. The video for this seems to be about getting revenge on a ballet teacher who cheated on them or something, or cheated on one of them.
something
with-
along those lines.
But yeah, I'm not sure what it is. But every time chicks want their videos to look tough, they start or end it with putting a guy in the boot of their car.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Clearly, a lot of women have a car boot revenge fantasy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It seems sort of weird. It's like they open up the boot and it's like, uh-oh, what have the Veronicas done? What's
Ooh,
going
it's
on
bad
here?
bitch territory. And
What?
then you're thinking, I
These
watched
are-
the start of
they're
this.
unhinged.
They pull up in a hotted up car. They got matching sunnies on. It's a little bit like the end of that bloody Lady Gaga video where she's in prison and she drives off with Beyonce at the end. And instead, and you're thinking, oh, okay, this is going to turn into some sort of end of fashion style Oz rock thing.
Yep.
No, it's a friggin' piano thing that a big, beautiful world or whatever would have gone turned down as too long and boring.
You know when you watch F-tier action films and there's like sort of tangents that are not fully explored
Yes.
and you're like going,
Yeah.
like they've sort of done something and then they haven't bothered finishing it to the end because, the director's inept or whatever, or they've run out of money. I feel like this video, like the sort of dude came out of the boot and I'm like going, this is going to be dramatic, and then sort of nothing really happened to the sort of the degree that I was hoping for.
No.
So look, this is some Delta level piano bullshit. The Veronica's an entity. You're obviously less annoying than Delta, but that's like saying Red Foo has more musical integrity than Crazy Frog, I guess. So it's sort of not saying a lot. But and as you said, the video didn't have any lesbian incest vibe at all, which surprised me, and it sort of definitely shows growth from the artist because that was something they mined to, within an inch of its life in previous video clips.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Did you want to see Red Foo in the boot of that car?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah.
Either that or an animated MC Scat Cat leaping out of the boot of the car and going, hey, MC Scat Cat's back. And if he did a rap in this song, it would have made it like 100% better. Make that 1,000% better.
I watched the first 5 minutes of Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie the other night because I heard that it was actually quite good for a kids movie, and it features a guest appearance by Paula Abdul and MC Scat Cat
In the film?
Yes, in the background of a cartoon / human people 90s throwback party that was
Jesus.
happening. So someone's done their research.
Did you watch the whole film?
No, I didn't. Maybe it gets better as it goes along, but
You
I
weren't
was a
feeling
bit
it?
bored after 5 minutes.
Damn,
Yeah.
I watched the first 5 minutes just for that MC Scat Cat reference. Now, look, Tom, watch the music videos. You said pretty boring. Top YouTube comment, though, quote, they've aged beautifully. Now, they were 29 when this came out. So it looks like, I don't know who the fuck is saying that. They're not 55 and people
No.
going, they've aged pretty well. I guess people thought that maybe they might have really let themselves go between the ages of, 25 when they last had a hit and 29 now, but it turns out that wasn't the case. And hey, at 29, women can still apparently look quite good, Tom. So thanks for
Yes.
that really insightful YouTube comment. It was great.
Look, For a song this basic to work, I think it either has to surprise you with a new element, or do something old-fashioned very well, like Adele does or Amy Winehouse.
Yep.
This doesn't have either, a bit like Paloma Faith from earlier this year.
Yep.
I mean, I reckon they should have released a different song, fired DNA songs in the first place, or busted out some lesbian incest.
Yeah.
Now, during an interview, the girl said, "It was a little bit of a risk for us, and to have it been embraced like this has been by Australia is amazing. We actually had a fight to determine who gets to sing the verse. We had a bit of a physical altercation. It was pretty intense, actually." Now, I suspect that footage of this is what Warner Music would have preferred for the video. And if the fight had taken place in a crowded sorority house during Sat and Teddy hour, then that's a sacrifice they would have been willing to make, while people ate hot dogs in slow motion in the background. Now, look, in case you're thinking, hey, Tom, that's gratuitously sexual, these girls are all about the music. Well, that brings us to the question of what the Veronicas are up to right now.
What are they doing, Tom?
Do you know about this? Jesse and Lisa are launching the Solo Project.
Oh.
Now, this is a new campaign from the advertising masterminds at TBWA Melbourne. Quote, "Vodka Cruiser, a brand that has been championing female and femme fun for over 21 years." Femme fun, they're defined as vomiting in gutters, I imagine, has partnered with iconic Australian pop music duo, the Veronicas, to release 2 tracks as first-time solo artists, aimed at breaking down the societal stigma associated with female masturbation. Each of the sisters' original tracks and corresponding music videos are an empowering celebration of self-pleasure, intended to encourage more females to talk openly about the topic.
Jesus
Quote, "With
Christ.
Seeing Stars and Cruisin' on My Own, we have 2 genuinely exciting tracks and we cannot wait to see how fans engage with them." It's by Jill in it, I suppose.
Now-
The initiative comes off the back of a survey commissioned by Vodka Cruiser that revealed at the Vodka Cruiser Scientific Institute that revealed that while 72% of Australian women find masturbation to be fun and healthy, 57% admit to feeling ashamed when they masturbate. Quote, "Vodka Cruiser is a unique brand that has organically embedded itself into culture, with its fan base appropriating the brand for their own social fun. But as we discovered, fun is not always equal, and so we set out to do something about it. We are incredibly proud of this campaign and the societal conventions it will hopefully help to disrupt." It's always great to see new ways brands are disrupting culture, Ben, by figuring out how to parasitically leech themselves onto an existing industry and suck money out of it,
yes.
while peristaltically pinching off advertising campaigns that make you want to take some Molotov cocktails to a taping of the Gruen transfer. I mean, which song do you normally listen to while cruising on your own, Ben?
Look, this raises so many questions. I feel like there's almost a separate podcast just in this alone. But
I was amazed you hadn't seen this pop up.
No.
Clearly, I'm entering. I'm typing Veronica's masturbation into Google too often.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as someone that's on their OnlyFans, I thought this would have popped up. But look, is this happening now or is this happening?
No, this is happening right now. I'd already done this, and then I saw it pop up on some YouTube thing.
So, I really don't know how vodka cruisers in any way are championing anything, but they're just like, is there just some dude working for vodka cruisers just like, what if we... So, what we'll do is, we'll get the Veronicas... and we'll get them to do a song about masturbating, and that'll help sell some vodka cruisers, and we'll try and sort of position it in a like, isn't it great that we're breaking down barriers and doing those things, because, there's too much for me to unpack, Tom, without having...
Might have been a sort of postmodern meta thing where they were thinking, well, if there's one thing that people associate with masturbation, it's modern advertising. So perhaps if we hire an advertising agency, then it will be inherently masturbatory. But I like the idea that masturbation needs promotion. You know? Like it's some public health crisis that, needs to be pushed forward, you know.
I mean, were they interviewing dudes and it just
Well,
came up?
that's
It's just
what
like
I mean.
when they were saying masturbation, and the Veronicas came up a lot, and they went, "Let's use that," or I'm not really sure.
I mean, I'm pretty sure 57% of men would feel ashamed when they masturbate on some level, depending on what day it is and under what circumstances they were doing it. I don't really think that it needs promotion.
I guess if they've got a vodka cruiser bottle up the arsehole, maybe that sort of adds a little bit of different element to it. But look, this is a campaign that I think we can all get behind.
Sure.
Because I like to see vodka cruiser in the public eye. I like to see the
Public
Veronicas. I like to see the Veronicas continued in the public eye, and it's good to see that the Veronicas have moved away from their faux incest lesbian vibe and are getting, to promote what's important to them, the actual music, through a mental image of them masturbating with a vodka cruiser bottle, I think. And
but apart from each other.
Yeah, but apart from each other. So them attaching themselves to this project.
Perhaps it's part of a long game.
Is it on brand for the Veronicas?
I think perhaps it's part of a long game, and they've already lined up a second sponsor for when they stop masturbating, and then they come back together based on a survey by, say, Smith's Ruffles Chips, who have found that 67% of women find themselves embarrassed about having sex with their identical twin sister, and that this is a way that they can help them feel less embarrassed about it.
Do you think the Veronicas were the first phone call from Vodka Cruiser? Do you think that they were sort of like just calling up, a lot of other, like Rihanna or something, just going, "Hey Rihanna, it's Vodka Cruiser here. Yeah, we're thinking about. Would you be interested in a campaign where you talk about masturbation and how you love it with vodka cruisers?" You'd get a lot of hang-ups, I think, across the board, until even Reese Maston's, but I don't want to be involved in this, a lot of things before all of a sudden you get to the Veronicas, it's like the 100th phone call. "Yo, Veronicas, would you be interested in a vodka cruiser masturbation campaign?" And they're just like, "We're fucking all in on this." So, I don't know.
I suppose it shows you just how much money vodka cruisers have made from organically inserting themselves into the culture since they first came out in 2000 or whatever.
Exactly, inserting themselves in the culture is certainly one way I'd put it.
Sure.
But goodness me, that took a turn that I was not expecting. So.
You still didn't answer which song you normally listen to while cruising on your own.
Oh, what were the two options of the Veronicas?
Well, there was Cruising on My Own and Seeing Stars.
I don't know which Veronica does which.
Any song,
I reckon. Well, probably Huey Lewis and Gwyneth Paltrow Cruising.
Sure.
That so,
yes. I Touch Myself is the obvious answer, which has cropped
definitely.
up. It's also 50 times better than either of those songs.
Yeah.
Although to mix it up, sometimes I'll throw on What Is Love or I Snuck a Retard into the Sperm Bank by Anal Cunt.
Of course, there's so many options.
Lyrically, unfortunately, I confine myself to lyrics from this song rather than the other ones, which are all extremely thinly veiled jacking-it metaphors. Or jilling it, sorry. Lyrically, I know you've thought that I wouldn't notice you were acting so strange. I'm not that dumb. In the end, I hope she was worth it. I don't care if you love me, you make me numb. Look, when in doubt, play a straight bat, I guess. Someone cheated on her, now she's in a bad mood and fantasising about putting him in the boot of their car.
Yeah.
I would have preferred some of that anger in the actual song, but at least she's being real and not trying to make it a sketchy metaphor about masturbation or something.
Exactly right. Look, Jesus Christ. Look, it's great.
I'm definitely
great
using Cruising on My Own as a metaphor for masturbation from now on. So look,
I think if I said to someone, if I made that up and just said to someone, have you heard the Veronicas are doing a vodka cruiser wank campaign? They'd be like, fuck off.
That's what I call the chef's hat effect, which is
exactly
1% of the time when reality sounds ridiculously trite in a way that would have, professional joke writers going, no, we can't get away with that. It's too dumb.
Exactly.
No one's going to buy that shit.
So Veronica's 1.8 mil on Spotify. This will cost you $8 solid, Tom. So that's okay. Well, probably about the price of one vodka cruiser, do you think? You probably get How much are they? Like $5 or something? Don't really know.
Yeah, the
Probably
problem...
get a 6-pack for 20. Would you? I don't know.
They're cheap. They're cheaper than the modern versions, although... Oh, well, the last time I had one was so long ago that maybe I'm assuming that they are. As a friend of Ross's once stated, while they tried a throwback night so she could relive her 20s by drinking Midori Illusions and vodka cruises, as to quote her, perfectly encapsulating them, this tastes like drinking a urinal cake. If there's a better definition of what a lemon vodka cruiser tastes like than ice-cold, semi-defrosted urinal cake, then I don't know what
Seems
it
you
is.
can get a 10-pack for about $30. So there you go.
Sure. Does it tell you what the taxi cleaning bill costs after you yak all over
I think
the back?
the 10-pack's a mixed 10-pack as well, Tom, so you get several flavours in that as well.
What an amazing world we live in.
Raspberry, guava, and... What do you get? There you go. Oh, there you go. 2 raspberry, 2 pineapple, 2 guava, 2 orange passion fruit, and 2 lemon lime. So there you go.
Well, this kind of information is why people come to this podcast.
Exactly right.
Because they're listening to it while walking past BWS and feeling very 2001.
You probably need a 10-pack of vodka cruises to get through the next song we're going to be talking about, Tom, which is 20th of October, 5 weeks. Thinking Out Loud, Ed Sheeran, he's back.
God
Twice
damn it,
in this year.
2014.
Fucking hell.
Fuck you for making me listen to Ed Sheeran again. I haven't heard him, not apart from this podcast episode. I haven't heard him since I stopped living above an IGA supermarket 3 years ago, and he hasn't improved in that time. They just played Nova FM, so like you, that meant he was essentially never off the charts. So for the 4 years I lived there, it was just, every time I went down to get, a 10-pack of vodka cruisers and some lubricant, then I'd be listening to Ed Sheeran whether I wanted to or not.
No, exactly right. Look, the previous one, Sing, I think we can agree, isn't terrible, passable, but this is about as boring as music gets.
We're going downhill, and
absolutely.
that was the high watermark, and we're heading towards the sewer.
Yeah, what can you tell me about this?
Look, well, if you want to know what it sounds like, here's a clue. He was sued by several groups who own copyrights to Marvin Gaye's estate for this, although weirdly not the actual estate itself. I guess his estate is split up among various entities. For similarities between this song and Let's Get It On, the cases were dismissed. What did you reckon? I mean, they're not the same song. Even if you go by the sheet music, they have a slightly different melody.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he did do a mashup of the two songs on stage. Now, for instance, I know that you used Will.i.am's A-B songwriting technique when you were working on the title track for the Art of Seduction EP, I'm in love with the shape of your camel toe in those yoga pants. But you wisely only do mashups of that with Ed Sheeran for private audiences who...
Corporate gigs.
Yeah, or people who put their phones in a safe so they can't record you doing it.
Correct. Look, the estate lawsuit thing is definitely starting to get pretty weird
As
at
we
this
started,
point.
yeah.
This isn't the most original song in the world. I don't think you can listen to this and go, I've never heard anything like this before. And look, it's not very good, but I certainly don't listen to this and think, holy shit, Let's Get It On. It sounds nothing like
the
it.
The tempo's not the same, the melody's not the same, and the subject isn't the same either. Let's Get It On is a slow sex jam.
This is just an acoustic-y sort of like...
Yeah.
Like, it's
Again,
bland
this
as
is
it gets,
getting into interpolation territory. We're just like, well, that one section sounds a little bit like this other thing, but not that much.
Look, Tom, I'm just worried that these continued lawsuits are going to have an impact on, at its core, the human creative spirit. I'm concerned about that.
It would be a shame for that to take a hit.
I know. Perhaps one day Ed will wake up and think to himself, is it even worth it anymore? Every song I write, some, dead person's grandkids show up and it's like, oh, it's got 2 of the same notes in a row. I want $100 million. And, and he'll quit the game just based off the number of lawsuits he has to deal with. And I don't think anyone wants that. Well, I do, and millions of others. But what if, it forces a true visionary, I'm talking you Jason Derulo or Teo Cruz to quit the game. I don't think anyone wants that.
Taylor Swift, she could just take her $1 trillion and go home.
Well, exactly. So, it's they're going after Ed now and we can be like, whatever, but you know, they will one day go after someone that we hold dear to the podcast,
Yes.
and I don't really want that.
Well, he did, talking about this, one of the lawsuits, I think it was around this time, for one of them he settled out of court. And he said, I later wished I should never have settled out of court. I should have just fight all of them, because if you settle out of court once, then they just never stop coming after you.
Yep.
But he said, I was young when that happened, and I didn't realise. I thought, they were doing this out of, I thought they were doing it out of good faith, and that if I paid them off, they'd leave me alone. But they weren't, and they didn't, and now
everyone's like, it's got 3 of the same words in it. I just want a 5% cut in on the royalties or something, and because they're selling millions of copies. Yeah, exactly. So.
Anyway, look, the video is some Celine Dion dancing with the Stars type shit, like the TV show. Even with a 500 quid vest and a month's dance rehearsals, he still looks less appealing than the Muppet from the last video,
agreed,
frankly. Also, don't wear sneakers on a ballroom floor, you gormless twat. I know that. It just looks terrible. What did you think? I mean, there's really nothing. It's just, that's all it is. It's just him and a woman dancing around in a room for a bit.
Yeah, look, I wasn't really feeling the video either, I think. Look, I don't really know.
The song's too slow for it to be interesting,
Yeah.
If he was dancing to All About That Bass or whatever, at least, there'd be some moves.
I did read that he lost about 20 kilos for the video, apparently. He said that he wanted to look good in it. So he did this by quitting beer, purportedly, Tom. So stopped drinking beer, lost 20 kilos. I can't remember I didn't think did he look big in that other video? I don't really know.
I mean, he's kind of...
Maybe he's a little bit chubby, and now he's lost a little bit of chubbiness.
As your partner was saying, because he dresses like he's on his way to the flipping laundromat, and he's got a weird-shaped head, and he's not conventionally attractive, and he's not required to make any effort with his appearance, it's a bit hard to even tell, whether he's 20 kilos overweight or underweight. Granted, in this, if you were swishing around in a vest, trying to pick someone up off the dance floor, it's probably a good idea to be in better shape. But like you say, the last one, it's not like you were going, geez, he looks fat in that.
Oh yeah, I don't think the issue's ever been, he needs to lose some weight. It's more just like, maybe just, brush your hair or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. So look, Ed wrote this with a Bristol singer-songwriter named Amy Wadge. Tom. Not Amy,
that's a great name.
Not Amy Wadge, who is one of my favourite artists, but Amy Wadge. Now, he'd previously worked with her on he released an EP in 2010 called Songs I Wrote with Amy, which is probably the most literal EP title I've ever heard.
Sure.
So, and Sheeran revealed that their singer-songwriter session was held as a favour to his childhood friend to help her deal with financial issues. Ed said, Amy was going through financial troubles. She drove to my house. My album was nearly done, and she asked if I could put a song that we'd co-written together on the album so she could get a little bit of money and pay the mortgage and bills and stuff. Old friend comes to Ed and says, look, it'd mean a lot to me to put one of our co-written songs on the album because, I'll get a little bit of royalties, and look, because you sell millions of copies, even a 1% cut should be enough to get me through. So I think Ed was onto that, and Ed said, while we were there, we wrote Thinking Out Loud. Now she never has to worry about money ever again, which is really nice. So that raises a couple of questions, Tom.
Sure.
One, we know interest rates are on the increase. We know cost of living's through the roof. Groceries, gas, electricity, petrol, they're all on the rise. People are feeling that pressure, the cost of living pressure, not knowing if they will be able to, keep the heat on, buy food for their family, put presents under the tree this Christmas. And what I'd suggest to those people that are really finding the cost of living struggles hard, there's a solution, Tom. Pop over to Ed's house. Co-write a shitty acoustic ballad that'll inevitably go to number one, and it has Ed Sheeran's name on it, and your money troubles will be sorted, I think. So Ed Sheeran, as an entity, I think can help a lot of people through these recessionary times just by doing a collab. So that's good to know. I
think the fact that the UK is in dire financial straits, 8 years after this song came out shows how little he cares about the population of the country
exactly.
that calls him home and made him very wealthy.
Exactly. I mean, Ed's out doing stuff by himself. All he needs to do, if Ed Sheeran could just do one collaborative single with every British child,
Yes.
we would get them out of poverty, I
True.
think, Tom.
That's
No
right.
British child would be living in poverty today if Ed Sheeran would have just done a collaboration
And
single.
yet he chooses not to do
He
that.
chooses not to, exactly. And look, the second point I like to raise, Tom, if Amy had been more fiscally responsible and hadn't found herself in such a
Yeah.
dire financial situation,
Yes.
she wouldn't have gone to Ed's house. She wouldn't have asked to do that sort of get an old song of theirs that they'd written on the album, and they wouldn't have collaborated, and this song clearly just wouldn't exist. So if there's any hesitancy to teach financial responsibility to kids in school, they should look at this and say, if we don't teach children, if we don't teach the
Yes.
young people to be financially responsible, we're going to end up with way more shit Ed Sheeran songs, and that should be all the incentive they need, I think, Tom.
Yes.
So teach people to be responsible with money, and we won't end up with this song.
Yes. I mean, another example, very similar, is the female dancer in this video is named Brittany Cherry, works for, you guessed it, Dancing with the Stars.
Good.
And also taught Ed how to sort of dance for the sort of video for this sort of pop song.
Yep.
I mean, again, a huge boost in fame and publicity, but at the cost of a month rubbing yourself on Ed Sheeran, you know? Is that a sacrifice you'd be willing to make? Is the question you'd be asking those school kids when they were complaining that figuring out how to, you know, economically look after themselves was too annoying.
Yeah.
So here's
look.
a picture of Ed Sheeran's groin. Do you really want to rub yourself on that for a month?
Yeah.
You know, or
It's
would you rather learn how to save some cash and
It's-
invest wisely?
a very, very difficult question, and I think they'd probably choose to save wisely, I think, Tom. Look, this song topped Spotify's 2017 list of most popular wedding songs
Okay, sure.
on the streaming platform. So Spotify looked at user-made wedding playlists and found that this was the most popular song on
I
them.
mean, this has sort of come up before in our podcasting history, but what the fuck is it about weddings that makes people instantly lose all sense of taste in music?
Yep.
You know?
When I got married, Tom, I decided to choose the seminal Tears for Fears song "Head Over Heels" to play at my wedding because after it's a song that after 35 years I was comfortable with the fact that
Yes.
it's still a fucking cracker, and Tears for Fears are great, and also none of them were convicted pedophiles, so I felt okay to proceed with that. But I sort of think that if you're choosing a song that came out in the last 6 months, you might sort of get married and look back and go, hasn't aged well. So I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
just choose a classic rather than something that came out 2 weeks ago. But look, the question is though, this is the most popular wedding song. Has Spotify really, done a deep dive? Have they drilled down on that data? Have they followed this up? Have they found out how many of those weddings ended in divorce? Because
Good question.
I reckon it'd be fucking high.
Yes, that's right.
If two people are like, let's get married, what do you want for the wedding song? Let's have that fucking Ed Sheeran song. Those, they're not going to last. those
Similarly,
marriages.
we've discussed previously how incredibly popular Wind Beneath My Wings, for instance, was as a funeral song. At
Oh,
one point,
yeah,
it was
exactly.
the most popular funeral song in the world. But nobody's bothered to do the follow-up research and say, was that song requested by the person before they died?
Oh, exactly.
Or was this just people who don't have any taste or hated the person?
This went wind beneath my
Yeah,
wings.
going, they can't object to it, so I'm just
Yeah.
going to tell everyone that they secretly loved Bette Midler.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. I mean, yeah. So, as I said, I had Tears for Fears at my wedding, but also a reworked Bette Midler song that I did to Wind Beneath My Wang. So, which is... No, it's not
A much less funereal, more wedding appropriate version.
Absolutely,
Of, yes.
absolutely right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, look, you got anything else for this? I was going to mention
Jesus,
the awesome lyrics.
Please, sorry. And you've meant are you going to talk? Were you going to talk about Amy Wadge? Sorry, did I steal your thunder?
Oh no, I
Apologies.
just thought it was a funny name. No,
It's crazy.
Yeah, as mentioned, co-written by Sheeran and the Wadgester,
Yeah.
who's got a name as great as her discography isn't.
Yeah.
Known for her work mostly with Sheeran, Boyzone, and James Blunt, among others, too boring to list here.
Jesus.
Anyway, this song is basically, thematically speaking, when I'm 64 without a melody or a sense of humour, much in the same way that Que Sera by the Justice Crew is like Que Sera without a melody or a sense of humour.
Yep.
When your legs don't work like they used to before and I can't sweep you off of your feet, will your mouth still remember the taste of my love? Will your eyes still smile from your cheeks? Only if your face is melted in an oven, I guess. And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still fall as hard at 23. And yes, as that would suggest, this was written while he was 23 about a chick he went out with for a year and then broke up with. So he was only off by 6.9 full decades about how much he was into her. So I think his authority as a, scribe about romance should be, looked at through the lens of this is the same guy who wrote The Shape of You.
Yeah.
Which is basically saying you've got good tits and that's mostly what I'm interested in.
Absolutely. Look, I've got no more to say about
And
this.
I think I can rap.
Yeah, you didn't rap on this, which is a positive. That's really
That's
good.
true. That is true.
fucking good.
I'll
Okay.
put that in the pros column.
As we said, 80 million on Spotify last time, 750 on Discogs. There you go. That's probably not. That's about standard these
For
days.
goodness sake, let's move
All
on.
right, great. 23rd of November, 3 weeks. Blank Space by Taylor Swift. She's back. Fuck. Whew. There you go. Twice.
Is this the most accurately named song of the year? Before you ask, don't forget that the Madden Brothers had a song called We Are Done this year as well.
Yeah,
Ben.
We Are Done is more wishful thinking on my part, that we are done with the music industry, but alas, it wasn't to be.
Yeah, that's a bit mean to Taylor, actually. I've got to admit, I really like this song.
Yeah.
I'd put this above Shake It Off
Yeah.
as well. I think it's more interesting.
Absolutely.
Ironically, because she's doing the thing that she's talking about doing in the other song instead of talking about it, which is possibly a lesson for the future, but who knows? I know she needs my advice to how to make
I think she
songs.
does. I think she does.
Look, after this shot to the top of the Billboard Hot 100, Swift became the first woman ever to knock her own song out of the number one spot.
There you go.
1989's lead single, Shake It Off, had been at the top of the charts for 4 weeks before Blank Space took over, so she's kind of shot herself in her own foot a little bit there by being super successful, but I don't think that probably counts. Swift explained to GQ in October 2015 that she wrote the song from the perspective of the crazy but seductive but glamorous but nuts but manipulative woman that the media painted her as, according to her.
Okay.
Throughout the song, Swift carefully brings this character to life through juxtaposition that showcases her raging passion. She also included the noise of a pen clicking towards the end of the chorus, suggesting that the character is writing her new lover's name in her blank space, as it were.
Absolutely. Do you think that Taylor had to dig deep to play that role in the music video? Or was it just sort of...
The role of herself.
as a nut, so manipulative? I don't know.
Yeah, look, on the plus side, if you did hook up with this version of Taylor, you could always tell her your name was Dick Lips McGillicuddy, and then she'd have to write her next album about you a month later after you broke up. And maybe she's great in the sack. I don't know. I have trouble believing it with someone that hot. Can storybook romance and deep dicking go hand in hand, Ben, in 2022? The Disney Corporation says no.
Look, they do say no, but I think it can. One of the biggest drawbacks about banging Taylor is that when the next album cycle comes around, every song is going to be about what a cunt you are, and then you have to...
This is the problem.
...have thousands of Swifties hammering you on Twitter, so...
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like at that point you'd be thinking, well, if I hook up with Taylor Swift, I might as well treat her like crap anyway, because everyone's going to think I did anyway, so, you know, unless you're a musical recording artist of equal caliber, like, say, the Madden Brothers, and then you can put out your own album redressing the balance
Yeah.
Much like that chick who banged Eamon from "Fuck You, I Don't Want You Back."
That's very true.
Immediately came back with a #1 diss track
And then
about
we
how
found-
tiny his cock
And then we
is.
found out it was all fake anyway, so it made fucking no sense.
Oh
But look,
man, I lost a lot of faith in Eamon that day.
what I like about Taylor is that, you know, her artistic integrity. She's always thinking about the song and how to sort of do something new in the music industry. She's teaming up with different people. She's sort of keeping it, you know, her own songwriting approach, but also being able to use Max Martin and Shellback to get these songs, getting out of the country stuff. She's doing all kinds of different things, which I appreciate. And Taylor teamed up with, I think, a great collaborative partner, Tom, in American Express, to create an interactive app to go along with the music video for this. This is what Taylor said, quote, "We created this 360-degree experience for fans. You essentially get to play around and explore the mansion in the music video." She revealed, there are all these hidden clues. If you click on doorways, you go into the next room. If you click on a clock, you can unlock little messages and clues. You can see us acting out these scenes depending on what room you're in and what part of the song it is. So American Express funded Taylor Swift's sort of thing to do this.
Sure.
And for me, I think
She is short on cash. So.
at the moment, I mean, I don't know whether you agree with me, Tom, but does an American Express funded Taylor Swift app sound about as good as the metaverse at this point? Sort of going into the room and you click on a door and you go into the next room and there's clues around and stuff. And
Well, I'm old enough to remember like when people started to fully awaken, you know, psychedelic third eye style to the concept of human evolution that was the interactive CD-ROM music video, where not only could you listen to Kid Criss Cross's new album, but you could also make a video by clicking on extremely low resolution thumbnails and moving them around. So I'm thinking this is just the VR version of that.
She's taken the Criss Cross Make My Video and moved it into the iPhone generation where you can sort of, you're watching it on the phone, you can click on a door and
I suppose
go into a room.
I suppose to American Express it's like, well, the video's set in a mansion, everyone looks like, you know, someone from a fucking perfume commercial, so why don't we... People will associate this with wealth.
I love these organic collaborations.
Oh, yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's like that one with Vodka Cruiser. Remember when they decided that not enough women were flicking the bean of an evening?
Not enough women are masturbating while crushing a 10-pack of Vodka Cruisers. If only we could get the Veronicas to promote both of those things in one sort
There's
of...
not enough underage female drinking in Australia. We really need to push into that market. And when I say push in, I'm talking about vaginas, of course.
The music video for this, apart from the American Express tie-in, Tom, it also won Best Female Video at the VMAs, where Taylor actually beat out a Beyonce song. And as hard as it is like to sort of picture this for a moment, Tom, if you can get your mind...
Kanye West
well, that's what I was going to
felt
say. If you can wrap your mind around this, Kanye, he decided to stay seated while that happened.
Good. I bet he was fuming in his seat.
Yeah, I think he was probably he was pussy whipped by Kim at this stage, I guess, and just wasn't able to get up there and rage against Taylor winning. But alas, so yeah.
Maybe he had his own video that year, that really stupid one where he was on a motorbike with Kim in front of what looked like some people moving bits of paper past in the background. Roger Rabbit style.
That was. I think that was the point where I just went, maybe this dude isn't a creative genius. Maybe his people aren't coming in and saying, some of these songs aren't great.
Or not that he's not a creative genius, but maybe this level of success is not what he needs.
Yeah, exactly. You need a level of someone to come in and edit, so to speak. So yeah.
Look, I've got to admit, I don't mind this band. I'll admit that. Taylor is good at bridges and choruses, I reckon, and she can afford the best pop producers in the world, as we've noted, Max Martin and Shellback in this case again, to give her songs a sort of spurty, propulsive energy that matches the sort of teenage hormonal rushes that she's trying to evoke a lot.
Yep.
And it is a bit weird because she's getting older at the time, and still trying to, evoke that whole thing. You might want to keep an eye on that, or you'll turn into Pink getting married to a motocross rider at 47 or something. But for now, she gets away with it, certainly, there's nothing wrong with that technically, but you're just going to end up like Diane Warren sitting in a cupboard with 17-year-old pizza crusts on the table next to you.
Exactly. You
refusing
don't want to throw the crusts out because it might, interfere with the creative process.
That's right. Damn it, I'm trying to write another If I Could Turn Back Time.
Yeah, look, dare I say that Taylor's at the peak of her powers here.
Yes,
this is
100%.
another very catchy track. I think that we're going to have to talk about Taylor coming up in more episodes, no doubt. I don't think the songs are as catchy or as interesting or as good as probably this one and Shake It Off, which are fun songs. I think she gets a bit too. I don't know.
I must admit, I'm not enough of a Taylor fan to know much about her non-hit songs.
No, I don't know.
So I don't know if 89 is one of her more popular albums.
I assume it is. I don't know. It's got a couple of big hits on it.
As stated, when you're talking about her popular albums,
they're all... Yeah,
it's like whether they sold 100 million or 50 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Not quite that high, but yeah. It's not like Katy Perry, for instance, who does seem to be sort of falling off a bit now. Taylor Swift is still definitely part of the cultural conversation.
Oh, exactly. I don't see Taylor Swift doing horseshit menu log ads, for example. But look, I'm not sure, though, Tom.
Great, now I have that in my head.
Sorry.
Thanks. Quickly.
As I mentioned, peak of her powers, great catchy song, but I don't know what to make of this quote, Tom. Blank Space is a song that's just zingers, one after another, which I definitely learnt from listening to Fall Out Boy, which raises a few questions.
It raises many questions.
Is this song full of zingers?
No.
Is she referring to the KFC zinger? And thirdly, are Fall Out Boy known for their zingers?
No.
So
none of those things.
Taylor Swift is apparently listening to a lot of Fall Out Boy and just hearing the Pete Wentz and going, "This is all zingers.
Yes.
I'm gonna fucking."
There's multiple layers of irony here because, of course, what you've got is, again, it's about her tedious, ongoing obsession with the way her image of herself is not the exact same thing as the way the media perceives her, despite the fact that people have been complaining about this since rock music was fucking invented, or even since fame was invented before that. People making films about that in the fucking silent film era.
Yep.
And yet, so she's writing a song where she's supposedly, ironically, portraying a stylized version of herself in the thing. The song would be way more interesting if she just left it at that and left a tiny, microscopic shred of ambiguity for people to pore over and go, maybe there's two meanings to this song. But instead, she goes on trillions of interviews and does fucking American Express ads where she explains exactly what she's doing in the song, which therefore further reinforces this weird image of people that everyone has of being this very calculated kind of artificial person, and
absolutely,
and it's just a big self-perpetuating thing. This is where the fentanyl comes in.
Exactly.
Before you know it, it's you're paying Dr. Feelgood to put you to sleep with propofol every night.
Yeah. Look, lyrics. This must be fucking full of more. Taylor. Well, it's all zingers, Tom. From what I understand.
Each of these lands with the impact of a KFC hamburger
basically,
being dropped onto the ground.
It's the music equivalent of 11 Herbs and Spices just fucking punching you straight in the face.
Well, much like the previous song we discussed, if you want, you can interpret it via her espoused perspective as serial monogamous pop culture has decided she is on the evidence of all the evidence she keeps providing. Or you can just sing it in the shower when you're feeling like a bit of a bad girl, oops, I did it again style, I can read you like a magazine, ain't it funny, rumours fly, and I know you heard about me, so hey, let's be friends, I'm dying to see how this one ends. Grab your passport and my hand, I can make the bad guys good for a weekend. How does Taylor Swift make the bad guys good for a weekend?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I'm thinking a lot of croquet, eating Devonshire tea off her cans, and insisting that they handwrite and post thank you cards for any blowjobs. 48 hours would fly by, I reckon.
Yahtzee Tom,
Yahtzee. Could be
I think
Yahtzee.
Taylor would fill the weekend with a few games of Yahtzee. I reckon she'd be into that. That would make the good guys bad.
Again,
Probably something in the slow cooker. Julia Roberts film before
the
bed. not
annoying
sure.
thing is, like I say, if she just left this alone,
Yep.
you could have a little laugh in private about, haha, people think I'm being serious with this song, that I think I'm a bad girl, whereas in fact this is actually about, you know, the version of me that they think I am. But
Yeah.
yeah, because you know what it's supposed to be, then you're just like, okay, this is what she thinks everyone thinks she is.
Yeah.
And all ambiguity flutters away like white doves at a white wedding in front of a white couple who look
Yeah.
like Taylor Swift and her white partner.
Look, can you make a bad guy good, Tom, by offering them a vodka cruiser, do you think, rather than a sort of...
I think if you offer him a vodka
Woodstock.
cruiser, you're risking that he's going to go home early on his own to play a bit of hand shandy with Mrs. Palm
true.
and her five
That's
lovely
correct.
daughters.
That's
Ben.
correct. It's a dangerous game. So yeah, I
As
wouldn't
before you
recommend
know it, he's cruising on his own.
Exactly right. 58 mil for Taylor Swift. We talked about that before. $32 on Discogs. You may recall that Shake It Off was $33. Is Shake It Off, Tom, a $1 better song than this? Do you think?
I'd say it's a $10 less good song.
Okay.
That's just my personal
Okay.
opinion, though.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both
So-
pretty expensive for songs that were this popular, though. I mean,
Yeah. So you've got $33 in the wallet before payday. Do you buy Shake It Off, or do you buy this one, blank space, and you got a dollar left over for a 7-Eleven coffee?
I think I buy a one standard hamburger from a Brunswick beer garden, then go home and download this for free off the internet because I don't have any money left.
It's probably a fair choice, I think. Absolutely. All right. So last song of the year, Tom. We've made it 15th of December for 3 weeks. It's Uptown Funk for Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars.
Yes.
The unholy duo.
Now, I know how much you love Bruno Mars, so
I
it's
do.
good to see him back in the charts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it, Ben?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great to see. To me, this just says that Professor Mark Ronson and Dr. Bruno Mars have been in the lab and they've turned on the old Will I Am A to B songwriting machine and put fucking Macklemore in one end and Uptown Funk has popped out
Well,
the other.
you say Macklemore, Tom. I have a feeling they may have A-B'd one of my own songs.
Oh, really?
Have you heard my single Uptown Cunts?
No, I haven't.
Okay, those Uptown Cunts are going to give it to you, and by Uptown I mean Mowbray. So, so that was one
You
of
didn't
mine.
specify which town, and now I know
Launceston,
it's
yeah,
Launceston.
exactly.
It makes way more
Yep,
sense.
so I reckon he's A-B'd my Uptown Cunts and he's come up with
Sure.
this. But look, that's speculation. I don't sue, Tom. I don't do it. I'm not like Marvin Gaye's great grandchildren who
No.
will sue over fucking anything. I just say, hey, look, let's just let artists be artists, and sometimes
Yes.
there's going to be some crossover in the notes.
Yes.
Because as Pharrell said, there's only 12 of them, apart from those Middle Eastern people that have 30. So there you go.
Sure. Look, Mark Ronson, in case you're wondering,
Yep.
is a US-UK DJ born in the UK to wealthy Jewish parents. The Ronson family used to be one of the richest in the UK, but they lost a lot of it in the 90s. His parents got divorced when he was a kid, and after that his mum married foreigner guitarist Mick Jones.
Fuck yeah.
Jones wrote Foreigner's hit song, I Want to Know What Love Is, about his burgeoning relationship with Mark's mum.
That's great.
It's a pretty good calling card.
It is.
When he was, I think I'd have that on my birth
I
certificate.
want you to show me.
When he was 8, they moved to New York, and Ronson rose to fame as a DJ, eventually doing production on albums for Lily Allen and Amy Winehouse. His first album, Here Comes the Fuzz, came out in 2003. Critics liked it, but it didn't sell much. As well as writing all the songs on the album, Ronson created the beats, played guitar, keyboards, and bass. Plus, the album featured Mos Def, Jack White, Sean Paul, Nappy Roots, Rivers Cuomo, Ghostface Killer, Trife de God, and Saigon. But it was this song that really made his name, although I really liked his previous single, not a big hit culturally, although they played it on the radio a bit, which was a soul cover of Stop Me If You've Heard This One Before by the Smiths, with Daniel Merriweather doing the vocals. That rules. And then it sort of, at the end, it turns into another song, like the last quarter. That's a good one, but yeah, it's way less hip-hop and way more sort of soul.
Yep.
But yeah, Ronson's got 7 Grammys, including Producer of the Year for Winehouse's album Back to Black. That's a great fucking album. And 2 for Record of the Year singles Rehab and This Bad Boy. He received an Academy Award, a Golden Globe Award, and a Grammy Award for co-writing the song Shallow by Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper for the film A Star Is Born. But yeah. Well, I don't know. What did you make of it? That was way more bio information than I normally have. Seems we've got a bit carried away there.
Look, Mark Ronson loves a horn, doesn't he? Loves the horns.
He's horny for horns.
So, he did a documentary series a year or so ago, which I watched and quite enjoyed.
Oh, really?
It was on Apple TV. About music, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So each
Makes sense.
six-part series, each episode looked at a different component. For
Yeah.
example, one episode was all about auto-tune,
Okay.
one was all about sampling, one was all about drum machines, one was about reverb, etc., etc., etc.
When you look back through the age he was when he was working
Yeah.
on things, he really must be a sort of bit of a music,
Yeah.
multi-instrumentalist prodigy, which makes for being a great producer, I guess, if you can do a bit of everything.
Yeah,
from young
I thought the series was pretty interesting because he's sort of like, he basically said, look, when I first started out, I was a DJ, so did a lot of sampling. So I'm going to talk about sampling.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I also, really like 808s and drum machines, so I do a bit of that. Then when I worked with Amy Winehouse, it was all about getting that sort of really reverby sound. So it was quite
That's
cool
cool.
that sort of talked about each of his different things. He also sort of acknowledged that he's worked with certain artists that might not think that he's like cool or for that sort of genre. So
Sure.
I think a few years ago he produced a Queens of the Stone Age album. And he was like, oh, no. And he was talking to the guy from Queens of the Stone Age, Josh, and he was just like, oh, man, your fans are going to be like, oh, fuck, why are you working with that Uptown Funk guy? Like, that guy's fucking shit. So he's sort of, aware and self-aware enough that he's like, I'm working with rock people that might not, your fans might not necessarily like what I do, but, I think that I'm well enough versed across different genres. I'm not going to be like, oh, throw some horns on here or something. Like, he sort of like knows what he's up to.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, it was an interesting series, and he was definitely a dude that seems to, love music and know a lot about it.
Yeah,
So that was cool.
He has worked with a lot of different people. As
Yeah,
you say.
absolutely.
He's more prolific than someone like, say, Ryan Lewis, for instance, who also seems happy to take more of a backseat role in the songs he's involved in, but does not have as diverse of a portfolio.
No, I think that's the thing you can say about Mark Ronson. Definitely a diverse, type of stuff that he's worked with. But yeah.
Well, I mean, for instance, I saw him play this live at a big outdoor sort of dance thing, and the crowd went fucking bananas.
Yeah.
Which wasn't bad because it was like 42 degrees in Perth at the time, and the crowd were in the full sun, so you really had to pick your moments.
Yeah.
And people definitely sort of saved up for this one. He was certainly a lot more fun than Dizzy Rascal on the main stage. That was just 4 black dudes in a double cassette player with a tape of their own songs that they'd recorded off 7LA. I think that's an exaggeration, but not by much. As they say in football, he really gave it 10% on the day.
Nice.
So, yeah, whereas Mark Ronson gave it way more than I thought he would, given the heat and a bunch of bogans throwing water bottles at him.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's Perth, so if they're not full of piss, you're on a winner.
Yeah, I completely agreed.
Sure. Look, what's the main difference, do you think, between Uptown Funk and Downtown Funk?
That's a very good question, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's one of the tough ones. I think Uptown Funk is a bit hoity-toity and overpriced for me personally.
Yeah.
Downtown Funk has better parking facilities and a thriving Korean food scene I can really get behind.
Yeah.
That said, Uptown Funk is still better than Uptown Girl, which is a dog shit song written by a creepy 30-year-old Alco to get a teenage Elle Macpherson into the sack. Sorry, I've gotten a bit distracted. So I quite like this. I don't mind this.
Oh, it's hard to say. I agree with you. Uptown Funk, probably overpriced, but you should get some pretty decent cocktails at the bar that's playing the Uptown Funk.
Good dining if you're prepared
and good
to pay
dining,
a
I
bit
think
more
so.
money for your funk.
Exactly, yeah. Downtown Funk probably represents better value, but I think you may end up getting one of those funk metal bands in the downtown funk. You know, the guys that from the 90s that thought that they were going to be, you know, Faith No More or Mr. Bungle, but ended up sounding like a watered-down 311 with slap bass.
That's right. You really... A little bit of funk junkies can ruin your whole night.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't really like that. Re Billy Joel, I think when you're 30 plus and you're writing a song about banging a teenager, you probably want to just take pause for a second, reflect on who you are as a person. And look, last time I checked, there are plenty of attractive 25-year-olds, so perhaps he should set his sights towards that. So look,
Sure.
I don't know, if he wants to go a bit younger, that's his call. He is a piano man after all, so, you know, whatever he wants to do. But I think the day you turn 30, maybe 16 or 17 is too low, even if it's just for the optics, Tom, I think. So I don't know. That's just for me, but look, I don't know. I'll let the piano man make his own decisions. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of life's great fucking mysteries, isn't it?
Yep. he seemed to be knee deep in supermodel snatch, which I find crazy. But look, obviously people love pianos.
Speaking of people that you love, I know you don't like Mark Ronson much, but I find it hard to... Bruno Mars, I should say.
Sorry, yeah.
I find it hard to dislike a song that contains the line, "Gonna kiss myself, I'm so pretty."
Yeah.
But some people might find that highly punchable. So, yeah, I mean, I find Mark Ronson a bit like DJ Shadow and DJ Format and even Pharrell. Like, I don't like all this stuff, especially not solo, but sometimes he just will get the perfect collaborator with that ingredient AX and just whip up something world-class, you know. Some musicians make better, like, facilitators and collaborators than rock stars, you know. When you see him in this video, he just looks a bit like Andrew Garfield wearing sunglasses, you know, like nothing that would make you go, wow, that guy's built for the front of the main stage, you know.
Yeah. Oh, but I think that's sort of, you know, you start off working in a certain genre. You know, as he said, he sort of did a lot of sample-based stuff and then realised that, you know, I can incorporate some live instruments.
Yeah.
And if you have the ability to work in samples and also, you know, use drum machines and record your own guitar parts and do, you know, obviously as he did and wrote songs, he's worked in a very, very wide range of genres. So totally. Credit where credit's due.
Like Pharrell, we're saying, you know, like one of the hallmarks of a really good craftsman is that they're always learning some new thing. They're always interested in something. When you ask them, if an interviewer says, "What are you doing?" they've always got, "Oh, I just found this thing," or "I'm working with this thing I haven't done before." As soon as people never change, then they get fairly dull. You know, it just turns into, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Ed
It's sort of, for sure.
No one wants that.
If you have the ability to write a song, you may as well use as much technology or as many different sort of ways of doing it as possible. So
and working with different artists and
correct. So look, this is definitely a very catchy song. Is it as catchy as the first one from the year, Happy? Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but I didn't realise...
Depends what you like to dance to, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I think, Mark Ronson's obviously onto a winner here, and this sort of definitely taps into the Bruno Mars school of mining an element of the past.
Yeah, although I think, again, like, because it's Mark Ronson, I think he's probably more cleverly... combine those elements into something that doesn't just sound exactly like one era. Like, this sounds sort of retro as a kind of vague catch-all, but it doesn't sound exactly like 1984, you know, or 1979. It's kind of a bunch of retro elements.
Exactly.
A little bit like some of the like Thrift Shop, which sounds, again, sort of retro, but kind of in a non-specific... I like a lot of different record shops kind of a vibe, but
yeah. Look, I think... When we sort of looked at some of those Kanye songs from, you know, several episodes ago, he loves sampling a horn part, a good sort of like horn bit.
Totally.
So, and I think Mark Ronson's obviously done the same. And I mean, you pump a good horn section in there, like it is very sort of, you know, there's something quite, you know, it has that sort of sound that sort of invokes the past, but also that's, I guess, the beauty of hip-hop, though, isn't it? Or hip-hop sort of bass music, where you take bits of the past with a sort of bits of the modern times and fuse them together to create something new. And look, that's kind of what this is. Maybe a little bit more leaning in the past and the future, but look.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely something that.
But it's more subtle than, say, just to pick an example, nicking the entire song "Baby Got Back" by Sir Mix-a-Lot, then changing, I don't know, a rap in the middle and getting your ass into a G-string for the video, which already featured, plenty of asses in the original anyway.
For sure.
All right, lyrics. You got anything else?
No, nothing.
Lyrically, this song includes credits for the Gap Band, after people pointed out some similarities between this and their 1979 song "Oops Upside Your Head." Now, I know you prefer the Snap version anyway, because the cover is always better than the original.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I should say, the Gap Band didn't actually do that. I think that was just arse covering. I think they just went... Anyway, consequently, this song was written by Robert Wilson, Trinidad James, Rudy Taylor, Charlie Wilson, Ronnie Wilson, Lonnie Simmons, Devin Gillespie, Bruno Mars, Mark Ronson, Philip Lawrence, and Jeff Basker, which has got to be one of our most over-the-top written bys that we've ever had.
Yep.
Look, one line that sticks in the head. This hit that ice-cold Michelle Pfeiffer, that white gold, which is presumably a Scarface cocaine reference.
I'd say so.
Supposedly the whole song came from that line, which means they were almost certainly hitting up the white gold in the studio. But, cocaine isn't all bad. Without it, we wouldn't have yacht rock for a start. And, I quite like yacht rock. So.
Absolutely right. Indeed. So, Mark Ronson, 20 mil on the Spotify.
Fuck, that's a lot. He's worked with a lot of people.
50 mil.
Oh, God, yeah.
And this will cost you $10.50, so there you go.
Yeah, that shows you the difference between the guy who actually writes the songs and the guy who kisses himself, he's so pretty.
Exactly.
About 30 million Spotify.
Exactly. So that's it for this week.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tom?
Oh, I was just wondering how you're doing with that essay you're writing for the New York Times about how Beyonce's new single is the start of a Eurobeat renaissance. But, maybe we can talk about that next week.
I am working on that article, Tom. Beyonce has started a Eurobeat renaissance, and I'm very excited to talk about it. I'm more excited for the Beyonce album to drop in full, because I want to know whether the whole piece, whether it's a full album of Eurodance or whether it's just one Eurodance single. So I'm hoping it's a full body of Eurodance work, because
we can only dream.
That new single she's dropped, it is pure 1991 Eurodance. So thank you, Beyonce, for just bringing back the power that is. So cool. All right, thanks. We'll be back next episode with 2015. Any Ed Sheeran then? I haven't looked ahead.
I don't want to look. I'm scared.
All right. Thank you.
See ya.